shoulders right now. Let's see. Let's get the rock
Yeah,
thing going.
yeah,
Boom,
yeah,
boom,
yeah.
boom, boom.
We're just gonna jump right in it. This, usually one of the detriments to going live on Saturdays is that a lot of shit happens earlier during the week, and people have covered it for 4 or 5 days prior, or however many days prior, and then you and I, hey, check us out here. And then and then shit happens on a Sunday, like with the J. Cole shit last week Sunday, after we go off. So it's very rare that that we're on Saturday live like right now, and we have an official global
Breaking
event
news. Yeah. Official breaking
occurring.
news.
Yeah, we have a
Literally while
global
we're
event.
going live.
Yeah, and it's happening now. So if you're seeing me glance over, over my shoulder like that, is because I got another screen on, and I'm just trying to follow maybe some of the breaking
in
news
in
that
fact,
that
matter of
happened.
fact, what you should do right now, going ahead and pull up one of those live streams of I don't know, because I was trying to
Yeah,
listen to Al Jazeera and I'm like, Al Jazeera's coverage is like horrible right now. They
yeah.
got
You know what's funny? I put on Al Jazeera too. That's funny. You
man,
know
I
what I'm talking?
listened.
Yeah.
They put first thing I heard when I clicked on Al Jazeera was I heard an Israeli like Haaretz reporter who's basically like um eh, obviously you can tell he's a Zionist. Then right
Mm-hmm.
after that, then they put on an American like I'm like, ah, come on now. Y'all can do better than this. For real, this is the coverage that we're gonna get right now on Al Jazeera. And so I don't know why Netanyahu's gonna stop it in the country because obviously they've softened their approach dramatically compared to where they were. I mean, Iran literally said we were only going to do a measured approach. They said we're going to try to do an approach. It's not over the top, but we are going to strike Israel. They didn't say they were going to strike some proxy or this or that. So I don't even know why anybody's like shocked that they're actually doing exactly what they said they do. And some people are like, "Oh, well, maybe Israel shouldn't have. I mean, maybe Iran shouldn't attack at all because now it's looking like they're not very strong." And I'm like, "This is how you amp the shit up and make the situation worse." And like I was just saying to Chris before, the stream started, this is another one of those steps of escalation that's going. I mean, Israel got what they wanted, and I mean, it cracks me up. Like people like bitch ass Richie Sunak, he's up there. I condemn the attacks of Iran. What bitch? What would you do if they attacked the UK? Shut the fuck up. You think that this the only that Iran should be the one who should just take it? They should just get smacked up all the fucking time by Israel and should never have a response. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I hate fucking lying, hypocritical, bullshit ass fucking people like this. All these fucking countries are, well, I don't know why Iran is doing this. All of y'all just saw them fucking breach the embassy building. Y'all just saw this shit. None of y'all would have stood for this shit. Not one of you fucking countries would have stood for it at all. It might have even led to outright war if it would have been the wrong countries.
Mm,
You're gonna tell me that
mm.
if Venezuela launched on the U.S. embassy, we wouldn't have 100,000 troops marching to their front fucking door. It wouldn't be no light war footing. We would be going straight in 100% because only what is it? I think it's like 2 times in like the past 100 years that somebody is has done some shit like that. Even with the remember the reporter that got chopped up. Even with him, they waited
Oh
for
yeah,
him to come out.
Khashoggi or Khashoggi, whatever his name is.
Khashoggi. They waited for him to come out. They didn't go up in there, or they took him out. But they had to do the shit even on the sneak. They wasn't running all up in there crazy or doing none of that shit. So I'm like, all these fucking world leaders. Oh, Rand, you shouldn't do anything. I'm sorry, man. I went
I
on a
mean,
little bit of a rant. I mean, I'll let you, get a couple. What's some of your thoughts on what's breaking right now? I'm sorry, man.
what's
I'm
up,
sorry.
bro?
This shit pisses me the fuck off. This
What's up, bro?
bullshit lying hypocrisy, man.
What's up, bro? You good though? You all right, man? How's
Oh,
everybody,
oh,
man?
oh, oh. Let me
What's
say
your
this
week?
real quick. If we have any content creators who are out there, y'all want to hop on, y'all want to do a joint stream or whatever. If you see anybody who's out there who's doing a joint stream and you and they chat and back and forth, let them know we over here and it's open to hop in and chill with the political matrix. But sorry, go ahead.
No, man. I was just checking on you, man. How you doing, man? You all right? You good?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, man.
Good shit, man. Your week was straight.
Yeah, man. It's kind of weird because it's my first time like officially having like a desk. And so now they was like, oh well, now that it's your desk, you kind of gotta, not gotta, but yeah, you probably should go on ahead and like throw some stuff in there, put your name on it in a sense. And so, you know, I'm like I've been like ordering shit for like my desk area, and then like at the same time my mind thinking about this bullshit that's going on, and then like some of these other crazy stories that have been going on this week, like the Messiah might not have come in that eclipse, but a lot of crazy shit did come with the eclipse and afterwards.
Yeah, I see that. I see that. Yeah, there's been an interesting week. I mean, again, it's a lot of things happening. There was quite a few deaths this week. This week is at the same time, like we have this thing happening where you have Iran sending drones at Israel, you have Hezbollah popping off, you got Hamas popping off. Did Jordan clear up some airspace for Israel to use? I saw that real quick. I wasn't sure. I was just trying to see who's going to align where with what. On something less important but also entertaining in the world of hip hop. It's one of my passions, right? You know, uh, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Rick Ross, Future, The Weeknd. It seems like there's a hip hop battle royale right now. All those names I mentioned, Marcus, everybody beefing with Drake or vice versa. It's really on and popping right now in the hip hop space. Drake put out a record, I want to say like 3 or 4 hours ago, that's got that part of the internet buzzing. Rick Ross, he put out a record that's got that part of the internet on fire right now. All of the breaking down of the bars. Oh, Streets, what's good, man? Have fun out there, man. But the breaking down of the bars, the lines, seeing who said what about who. You already know, if you're a fan of hip hop, you're a fan of battles. If you're a fan of shit talking rap, then this is for you. This is not something that happens often, especially with people of such high profile, right? We see it usually a little bit lower down the ladder, but right now we're seeing it with some of the top names in the game right now, the most popular, or those with the biggest hives, shall we say. So they're very interesting. Also, I do want to say, for those who grew up, for those of us our age or so, if you're really into the music, DJ Mr. C passed away. Um, for me, that was somebody I've been listening to for a very, very long time. His DJ sets are second to none. His nickname is the Finisher. He passed away this week. What was it? I can't remember what the cause. I don't think they announced the cause of death for DJ Mr. C, but he did pass away. And I just wanted to make mention that if like rap music, hip hop music, you've never heard of him, do yourself a favor, check him out, DJ Mr. C, DJ MISTER CCEE. No, his sets are legendary. He goes back to he was Big Daddy Kane's DJ, and he was one of the first people who co-signed this unknown rapper or rapper who people didn't hear of by the name of the Notorious B.I.G. Right? He was one of the first ones to say, "Yo, y'all gonna hear this dude, and it's gonna be on and popping when he's ready." And of course, that turned out clearly he had his finger on the pulse of the culture because he looked at Big and said that this dude is going to be next up, and he was. So just rest in peace to DJ Mrs. C while we at it. OJ Simpson died this week too.
I was gonna mention, throw that out.
Yeah,
And
OJ
then
passed.
of course, Bruce Jenner gonna have his little bullshit to say.
It was funny. Bruce Jenner said, good riddance on Twitter about OJ Simpson. But the court case was the court case. The verdict was the verdict. You can have your own opinion, but the court of law, they ruled how they did. On the other hand, Bruce Jenner, you actually really did kill somebody. Like that's not a joke. That's not, that's not funny. I don't see you, saying rest in peace to the people that who you harmed, right? So it's and then you killed him because you said paparazzi was chasing you down. Oh my God, what a harsh thing in life, right? That I got to speed because the paparazzi is the paparazzi's after me. So anyway, but I just wanted to put that out there while Bruce Jenner
Plus,
was.
is the paparazzi really following you? Like who want to follow your big goofy ugly ass around?
Thank you, male or female at that time.
Yeah,
Well, he's still a man because he kept his. He's still a man because he kept his penis. He just changed his name.
I just said big ugly because either way, man or woman, you still ugly as hell.
Yes. So I wanted to point that out because they're all like, oh, F OJ, OJ's a murderer, etc., etc. Yo, you killed somebody, B, and you paid them off, which is the only reason why you didn't go to trial. You're not in prison because
according to the court of law, he did not kill anybody. So
yeah. And
that's what I
Mark,
go with.
I don't know if you remember, but that OJ chase, I was just telling everybody, it was 1995. The Knicks were playing the Houston Rockets in the NBA Finals. And we're watching the game. I'm all excited. You can imagine I'm a teenager, and we're in New York, and I'm a Knicks fan. We finally in the NBA Finals, and then it's Game 5. We hyped up on this night, and then all of a sudden you cut off my game to put on this low-speed chase of OJ Simpson in the white Bronco with like 20 some odd police cars behind him. And it's just like, yo, you cutting off my game, put my game back, because we was Knicks fans, you know what I mean? And we hadn't been there since the 70s. So, I'm super hype. OJ come along. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on here? And then, we went through that whole ordeal. What was it like for you wherever you was at when the verdict was announced?
Trying to remember what year was that.
It was 95. Oh, that would have been 90. Yeah, 95, 96. Yeah, that
More than
was like
likely,
really.
I was probably watching playoffs too at that time.
Yeah,
And
that was
I
Hakeem
more or
versus Pat.
less remember the trial. I more or less remember the trial more than anything. I mean, I remember seeing that
If it don't
slow ass
fit, we
chase
must
and
have quit.
what the hell is going on? And I remember the Mark Furman and
Oh, that racist
but
motherfucker. He was bad.
yeah. Yeah, and I also like later on I got kind of big into like the uh the alternate like conspiracies or whatever. And so because it was rumored that it was possible like his son actually did it. And then it was this weird story with like Kato Caitlin and what is his name? Cato. It's Cato something,
Kato
right?
Kalin. Damn, we ain't heard that
Cato.
name in like almost 30 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, he had like a bad drug problem, and like him and Nicole were both like getting high end drugs. And I know for it was like I don't know who put this theory together or whatever, but I mean it had an interesting twist. I still kind of like I don't know what happened. Some people are like, it was definitely OJ. I don't know what happened. I know one thing, when you get arthritis in your knees and your back and your shoulders and all that, it get a little hard to be hopping fences and stuff like that. So I have a hard time believing. I even said if y'all saying that he did it, who else was with him? Because he didn't do that shit by himself. There's no way he did that shit by himself. So somebody else is still out there if y'all saying it's OJ. But the
But
weird
you
thing
know what
about it
that
is, yeah.
go ahead.
Well, the last part I was going to say is like the whole Caitlyn, the whole Cato, drug lord, whatever kind of thing. It was this guy who just got out of prison at the time who killed multiple people exactly the same way in which they were killed. And dude
Mm,
flew from Miami out to LA and was in the Brentwood area at the same time all this shit happened, and then flew out
mm.
right after it happened. And so I'm like, is this a frame up going here? I mean, it's always possible. So, I mean, it was just like a very interesting time. And for those who aren't old enough to remember like this whole thing, I mean, it's something that swept the nation. It was like on TV every day. It seemed like I remember
It
watching this
was the
shit at
lead.
school.
It was the lead story, and if we think about it, a lot of the true crime series and all of these court shows, a lot of that was a result of the O.J. Simpson trial, the coverage of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
there were other trials before that. Like I think the Menendez brothers, if the people are old enough to remember that, those are the
Oh
two
fuck yeah!
brothers
I remember the
who
Menendez brothers. Oh
slaughtered their parents, right?
yeah, it was a
So
crazy
right after,
time. That was when CNN still had some legitimacy.
yeah, when they were actually doing just straight down some, they were still doing
Some.
some reporting only without the opinion. Now it's all opinion. But after the OJ case, the day by day, everybody from the prosecutor to the defense attorneys, everyone became famous. I mean, we didn't know, but there was a guy on the OJ defense team whose daughters we would never stop hearing about for the last, I don't know, 15, 16 years now at least. All of
Mm-hmm.
that is from OJ. A lot of them, Christopher Darden, Marsha Clark, didn't they get
Yep.
TV shows as a
Mm-hmm.
result?
Yep.
Or at least they kept receiving invites for different shows to keep talking about the case. They had a movie on FX, right, or a series or something like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, they've had a couple of them. One of them starring Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people and networks and organizations that have milked the OJ situation to make a few dollars for themselves. Thomas says, was OJ chase and trial first example of
No,
reality TV?
but
No, we
close.
had Rodney King before
But
that.
even before that, you had Cops. Cops had like was like I want to say late 80s. Like it started out like 89 or 90. And then you had
Mhm,
shortly after that, which really spiked it and brought more of them in, would have been the Rodney King situation. That led to
mhm,
a whole lot. And then once the OJ thing, they were like, wait a minute, there's a market here with this.
mhm. Yeah. So, and the case, obviously, that was a very racially charged case in terms of the people who wanted to see OJ innocent versus those who wanted to see him rot in prison for life. And it is what it is. I grew up in a mixed area. I could tell you, but most of the black people I knew was like, yo, OJ better be free. He better, be innocent, acquitted, etc. Most of my white folks I knew is like, he's guilty. He needs to be thrown in prison. And it's safe to say it was pretty much divided like that from New York down south to out
Oh,
west where
it
you
was
were
completely
in the
completely
Midwest.
divided
Yeah.
on racial lines. Completely. If you were white or white adjacent, you were OJ's guilty. If you were
Yeah.
if you were black or and a lot of brown people, you were like, I don't give a damn if he guilty or not. Free OJ.
Yo, when as soon as we're laughing about it, but as soon as Johnny Cochran came through spitting them bars and said the glove don't fit, we must have
Must have
quit.
quit.
Dog, yo, we was on the bus like, yo, the glove don't fit, we must have quit. You know what I mean? So all it took was a few bars from Johnny Cochran, and that really went a long way. I mean, Johnny Cochran really blew up as an attorney, and ironically, wasn't Dershowitz involved in that too?
Um,
Wasn't Alan
he
Dershowitz in
he
part?
might have been involved in there to
Okay,
some degree, but not
all
like
right.
one of the major attorneys. But I mean, I
Yeah,
think he
that
did
was
have something to do
Shapiro.
with
It was Johnny Cochran, Shapiro, and then the Kardashian.
it. Yeah, Robert Kardashian.
Yeah. God
Yeah,
damn. That's it. Thanks, OJ. Thanks a lot. We really appreciate that. But
which
no,
they called the
honestly,
Dream Team.
yeah, and then what's funny? OJ had been very quiet until two rappers, Cam and Mace, decide to, start their show, and they start a sports show, right? And for their football analysts, Cam and Mace have none other than OJ as their football analyst. So if you wanted to see OJ on TV at any time, all you had to do was check Cam and Mace's YouTube channel on a Monday or a Tuesday after a football game, and you could watch OJ Simpson, in 2024 and 2023, catching up, seeing what he was doing. The dude actually, his personality, he's funny. He still had it. He was very sharp, and OJ did very well on that show. I can't even front.
But but we got to go back to because I don't want to talk about OJ and everything be focused on the trial. I don't want
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
focused on that because a lot of people, when they think of OJ, all they think of is Nicole Brown Simpson and Cato. They don't think of, or actually, a lot of them don't even think of them. They just think of OJ murderer. That's what they think of, or the trial. And before that, um, kids like me who we weren't old enough to see him play, what before he retired, but we knew the highlights of watching OJ and his acting career. A lot of people forget about that. I used to think OJ was hilarious in them Hertz commercials and the Naked Gun
Naked
movies.
Gun, Naked Gun,
Mm-hmm.
Nordberg, right? That was his name, right? Norberg or Norberg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was funny as hell in them Hertz commercials and the Naked Gun series. I
Yeah.
think they knocked him off the balcony, and then he got run over by a whole bunch of people. The street, not street sweeper, but the asphalt machine that rolled up over him. Yeah, and then he
Mm-hmm.
still survived. He showed up broken in the next movie. OJ was funny in them Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen. Damn, I'm
I want
dating
to read.
myself, right?
I want to read this
I said
comment
Leslie
from Alma.
Nielsen.
I like says I think OJ possibly has something to do with the murders. However, white people hated that he was a black man who could afford his justice by getting competent legal representation. It well said because then nobody gives a crap when plenty of rich white men get away with shit just because they have the money to buy good lawyers. But when it's a black man do it, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I think that was another one. Like, and I love that we're talking about this right now. And of course, we'll definitely touch back on what's going on with this whole Iran attack. But one thing about it is all of these right wingers who like to say, "Oh, well, I was in the '90s and we had beat racism and we had got past racism." No, we didn't. It really showed the racial wounds this country still had and the racial divisions that were still there. And the only difference between in the '90s is I think, and which a lot of these people want to get back to is, and maybe some of these people genuinely have this like blind spot where they think if they don't hear the problems between black and white people that they went away and we're all cool now. That's not how things work. Just because you came home late and your girl is not yelling at you doesn't mean she's not still pissed off. I mean, and so I just wish that like
That's whenever you got the bigger problems when she not yelling, whenever she just quiet and she just like, you like, damn, I was expecting you to be upset. I was
it,
expecting
well,
you to say something. I got my
well, that's the thing.
rebuttals already, like my cards, right? All my rebuttals ready. You just quiet, say you're not playing that game. I don't know what to do with any of these rebuttals because I don't know
Well,
what to say.
Well, that's what right wingers don't understand. Just shutting everybody
Mhm.
up will only make the situation worse. Because what's going to happen is it's not like black people are not going to know about all this shit that went on and their feelings are going to change. All it's going to do is create more of a division because we feel like obviously we can't talk to these motherfuckers about it.
Mhm.
And because and then what it does is when we can't talk to you about it, we are going to put in our heads what we think you feel. And a lot of times that might be worse on you than that because that means we don't give you the benefit of the doubt to think that maybe you're not racist. It's just going to be
Mhm.
matter of fact, this is a racist. Matter of fact, all white people are racist. That's how it's going to end up turning to. And that division's going to stay fucking there. So I don't
Mhm.
know. Just wanted to say that. I mean, I feel like they talk about how, oh, racism was gone. No, 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 no. That right there, the Rodney King thing also. It showed how quick black people felt like how they were talking about how we're not getting a fair shake in this system. No different than all the way up to people talking about the George Floyd thing and Trayvon Martin and all those things. Ahmaud Arbery. Shit ain't changed. It's just honestly, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm just saying that it how that division that was exposed in that moment is the same situation we're dealing with right now. And so for people to try to pretend like, well, things have gotten so much better, did they really, or did they just change? It's just a different way things are going on.
Mhm. But we no longer we have the internet now, compared to that time when we didn't have the internet. So we didn't have the other items to distract us. So that was one thing when you came home from work or school, when you put on the TV, even if you had cable, any channel that was doing anything about current events or, just news in general, that was going to be a topic that was going to be brought up one way or another, whether they brought on the entertainment expert to talk about it or the lawyer to talk about it, or they just mentioned it in passing that the case was still ongoing. It was something that everybody was, not for lack of a better term, was forced to hear about. So in any case, it happened, it's over. OJ lived his life, and he went to prison for stealing his other shit back. He had his things that were his memorabilia, if you will. I don't know the backstory, but all I know is somebody got their hands on his memorabilia. He figured out who had his shit. Him and his boys ran up in that spot and they took his shit back. Unfortunately, the way that they went about it was illegal, supposedly, and he served several years in prison over that. But we know that the sentence that they gave him for that, knowing that it was his material he was going to get. He wasn't going to steal somebody else's stuff. He was going to retrieve his items that he felt that were wrongly taken. Again, should he have handled it a little bit different? Maybe he could. But we know that the sentence he got was 1,000% based upon him walking from the prior charges in the other case that he had. So I'm not going to pretend that this system is all good and it always works every time, because they still made sure they got their hands on that man one way or another. They took some amount of time from him, even if it was just a couple of years. They was going to get that from him too.
And a lot of money got taken off of him too. So let's not forget that. And
Yes.
I want to put this here too, because thanks Himcar for mentioning it. Says remarkably enough, the final report came out October 3rd, 1995, the same day as the verdict in the O.J. Simpson case. I don't remember seeing the results being reported. So he was talking about radioactive isotopes and stuff like that in pregnant women. All of that came out at the same time as the O.J. Simpson stuff, and so it's kind of interesting some of the stuff that was being papered over
Or that
because
was
of the
just
OJ
hiding in the
Simpson.
shadow. That was just
Well,
hiding in the shadow of the OJ case.
well, I don't even want to say it was hiding in the shadows because I feel like sometimes they intentionally just focused on the OJ stuff instead of
Yeah.
not covering other stuff. They like it's easy to kind of focus all our attention on this something, and this could have been one of the earlier kind of not I mean I guess not earlier because that's not early. I mean, but this could have been one of those things which we start noticing now, where we start noticing that the media is focusing on one story pretty heavily, while
Mm-hmm.
not talking about something over here, kind of like a magician showing you one thing with this hand while this hand over here is doing something different. And
Correct.
so
Yo, you know
it
he
could have
was in
been
Root.
he was in Roots.
Yeah.
You playing.
He had a small part, but he was in Roots.
Wow. That might have been
I
got
know.
his acting break.
I was just gonna say, the thing about it is that guy was his name had been ringing bells for several decades, right? In the late '60s, he is a high school and college phenom, right? He went to college at USC, right? Major school, a lot of publicity. He was demand back then. He goes to the NFL. He gets drafted by the Bills. He's playing in New York, even though it's Buffalo,
Upstate.
but he's
Yeah.
still playing in New York. He's setting all these records. My man ran for 2,000 yards in 14 games. Running backs in 2024 have still not done that yet. Nobody has run 2,000 yards in 14 games. We
Oh no,
celebrate when
did
guys.
CK2 do it? I think CK2 did it.
He did it in 16 games, not
I thought he did
14.
14. I thought he did 14. No, I could be wrong.
Maybe we could check, but
I think
regardless,
I thought he was the only one that got close.
but
Or he
regardless,
might have,
even if he did do it, there's only him, only OJ's on that list in terms of football players and running backs to ever achieve something like that. So that man got busy in the entire 70s on the football field, which was prior to Marcus's and I's time, on this planet. So by the time we see him, we just know him as the entertainment version of the guy. We don't know the sports athlete, but as Marcus mentioned earlier in his what he mentioned earlier is that we saw the football plays through the clips. We didn't get to watch it live, right? We had to settle for the clips. But even in the clips, as they said, we saw he was a bad mother. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's
So
it's like imagine somebody who like for instance, perfect example, Nate Burleson. He's turned into like a great like anchor person, or Michael Strahan. It's like for somebody to only know them for CBS and Michael Strahan for like the Michael and Kelly
Good
show or
Morning
whatever,
America.
and Good
Yeah.
Morning America, but not know that these men were giants in their sport. Like Michael Strahan is like one of the best defensive ends all time. He would be
Oh, we
like
already know.
definitely in the top 10 defensive ends of all time. And Nate
Mm-hmm.
Burleson, of his era, was one of the top receivers in the game.
Correct. Yes, he was.
And
He
for
played
people to
didn't he play
only
a
know
role?
them for being TV personalities.
And did Nate Burleson play alongside Randy Moss at one point in time too?
Yeah, in Minnesota. Yep.
Yep,
He
Minnesota.
was with
Yeah,
Minnesota and then he was with the Seahawks.
yep. So, but that was it. There's not much more else on OJ that
It's,
I have.
it's like imagine the people who only know like Ice-T for Law and Order.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. But it's like that because there's people who only look. Did you see, speaking of hip hop this week, that's why I said a lot of shit happened. Twitter, some of you younger Twitter people, y'all played yourself in terms of the hip hop area this week. They were saying that LL Cool J wasn't that guy, that he was whack and he only made love songs, etc. And I'm just like, for you guys having so much access to the past, for you to make such an ignorant statement like that just shows that you don't even know how to do your research properly. So when you
Yeah,
talk
but a
about
lot of them
LL,
are saying Jordan wasn't that good too right now. So it's just a
oh yeah, the
different.
90s is over. Uh, yeah, but the Jordan thing, but I'm like, I take, like, come on, this dude came up battling people. What are you talking about? Like, that's how he first got put on in the hood before you guys even heard the name of LL Cool J. James Todd Smith was running around Queens and Brooklyn and the rest of it, the rest of the city, battling dudes, winning. He wasn't the I need love. Nah. That was a different beast. Just like we talked about LL, these people have been around for, a certain amount of times. People are able to change who they are and what their focus is at that particular moment. So the time in the 90s that some people become familiar with Cool J and know him for Hey Love and all of those type of songs, they don't know that was a killer. He was just a retired killer. He just said, okay, I'm gonna stop killing people and I'm gonna smooth it out for the ladies. And that's what he did. But I don't think that they should ever disrespect that man because he really did it. He really showed up places. He went places. This pre-internet. Y'all got to understand. My man was in the streets, so they should put some respect on people's name and actually do some proper research and not just the surface level shit.
I mean, I guess people doing research and internet kind of ties into one of these stories that I wanted to get into. I mean, granted, we still are sitting in the backdrop of the Israel stuff going on with Iran, and I know there's a bunch of other channels who are going live right now and covering it. So I appreciate y'all who decide to still rock with us
Correct. We're gonna get
and
into
come
that
here.
too.
We
We're
will
gonna
get
get
into
into
that.
that too because there's other things that's happening. Because right now, the only thing you can say is that missiles and drones are flying. We haven't seen any pictures of any destruction or any, buildings or people bodies. It's the total opposite of what we see when it comes to Gaza.
So I wanted to
Ironically,
I wanted to show y'all this real quick on the note of like the bad research and social media. Last week we kind of joked around a little bit and made fun of like the Eclipse stuff.
oh, you mean that
Well,
I made people go and do crazy shit? Like, yeah, huh?
I wanted to cover this story. Says LA mom fatally stabs boyfriend, kills baby before smashing SUV into tree
She
and
threw the
twisted murder
baby. She
suicide.
threw the baby out the car.
Yes. And so 405 is a major highway. I'm not gonna actually let me just show y'all this video. Let me just show y'all this video. This was like really sad. And this is what I'm saying. Social media can really mess people's heads up. I mean, um, that's why like I figure instead of like cracking the jokes as much on some of this stuff, I realize I gotta be more cognizant and serious because some people really take like these online conspiracy stuff vitally serious. So I'm gonna play this and then I'm gonna give my thoughts after it.
10 tonight, we've learned that the suspect in this week's horrific murder suicide was an online astrology influencer. Here's a look at her, who posted about the solar eclipse being the apocalypse. Fox 11's Gina Silva, she's live with developing new information on this case tonight. Gina?
Marla, this case has been so shocking from beginning to end, and now we're learning about a new disturbing layer to this tragedy.
A lot of our foundations as a society are toxic. They're ungrounded and they're unrealistic.
LAPD confirms Danielle Johnson, aka Danielle Ayoka, seen here on the Scotty and Sylvia show, was an astrology influencer on social media who was concerned about the eclipse.
Eclipses, there's more births, there's more deaths.
Leading up to the eclipse on Monday, Danielle, who went by the handle Mystic X Lipstick, made several alarming posts like these. Wake up, the apocalypse is here. And the eclipse is the epitome of spiritual warfare. She also reposted alerts that signaled this is the final warning. Something big is coming.
This type of story is probably one of the most tragic and horrifying stories that we'll ever hear about.
Like the rest of us, clinical psychologist Dr. David Swanson, who never treated Danielle, is trying to make sense of this horrific tragedy. Just hours before the eclipse was to take place over California, Danielle stabbed her boyfriend to death in Woodland Hills, pushed her kids out of a moving car on the 405 freeway in the Westchester area, which resulted in the death of her 8-month-old baby and the injury of her 9-year-old daughter. Then Danielle died after crashing her Porsche into a tree in Redondo Beach.
Perhaps she thought that this eclipse meant that it was the end of the world. The apocalypse was here, especially because of some of the statements that she made.
There were plenty of similar posts and videos on social media predicting all kinds of disasters and the end of the world.
And when you're sitting on TikTok or you're on social media, and clearly she was an influencer, so you know she watched a lot of this stuff, it's very easy to get sucked into the fear that these videos start to create.
Could this have been postpartum depression?
I don't think it would have been totally postpartum depression, because we have a lot of women who deal with postpartum depression and it doesn't result in something like this. But certainly any type of mood disorder makes it much harder to cope with other things as they start to come up.
Looking at this tragedy in hindsight, Dr. Swanson says there were obvious signs. The happy and smiling Danielle had changed and was struggling with something dark.
She was warning people. She was saying, pick a side. The way that she typed about it was in all caps. It looked like she was very disturbed.
And as you see there, that message, wake up, the apocalypse is here. Everyone who has ears, listen. Your time to choose what you believe is now. If you believe a new world is possible for the people, retweet now. This is why I mean, we kind of jokingly kind of go into some of this stuff and talk about these people believe in like some wild, crazy stuff, and sometimes your beliefs. It's fine to believe whatever you want to believe. I mean, even if it's something that's horrendous, as long as you're not harming other people. In this case, this woman buying up a lot of these weird theories, which I don't know, but I would be pretty sure that probably this came from a bunch of stuff on TikTok. Though there are plenty of people on TikTok who are really do really good content and drop a lot of information. There are some people who got some out there views, and then there's a lot of piss poor scholarship that's going on. And the fact that a lot of people feel that now that we have computers, everybody feels like they're an expert on everything. That's problematic when you don't let the facts change and dictate your direction. When you are so fixated on this is what it means, and I need to form everything into my beliefs to make it work. You know, I just wish that we start being more critical of all this stuff that we're seeing online. I mean, I remember parents back in the day, you say, you can't believe everything you see on TV. You can't believe everything you see on the internet either. And I used to think, kind of laugh it off a lot of this stuff because I didn't know how much of what some of these people are saying online was them just coming up with theories and kind of knowing it's wrong, but knowing that they got big audiences so they can profit off of it and cool with it that way. Or, well, I'm just doing entertainment. But the sad thing, and a lot of it, sadly, I have to say, is happening definitely in the Black community. Granted, they've lied to us about everything. They've lied to us about a lot of stuff, but we don't need to start making up lies ourselves off of like not researching things properly and then just going out there half cocked and speaking with 150% of our full chest. Need to be more sound in what we're looking at and researching and spreading to others, because especially if you have a platform, no matter how big or how small, you have the ability to influence people, and so you need to be responsible with that. And before you go out there saying some crazy stuff like that, I mean, I don't even know what she thought was going to happen if the apocalypse wasn't. What did she think was going to happen that killing her, trying to kill her whole family, was better than what was going to happen? That's, I mean, I don't know where that was at. Alma says we're all individuals. She was messed up. Maybe it was a combination of fear of the eclipse and postpartum depression. I don't believe that it was postpartum depression. It could be, because I know, yes, she did have an 8-month-old. I think that it's primarily, I would lean on stuff that she's seeing online and being influenced by other people's stuff, and then taking that information, being led down a rabbit hole, and then spreading more of that information. Because for every type of belief, there's somebody out there who is spreading a viewpoint for you. Now, if you want to believe these things, you're not and you're not keeping yourself open to maybe some of these things could be wrong, you can fall into these kind of traps. If you look and you're one of these people where every single thing is a conspiracy, everywhere you look is a conspiracy, then you leave yourself open for some of this stuff also. And so we just need to make sure that we're vetting all of our information thoroughly and thinking out the stuff that we say. And another thing, even if you are pretty certain on stuff, everybody needs to quit speaking with so much authority that they believe that whatever they say is 1000% correct, and there's nothing could be wrong, that they can't be wrong. This is the biggest problem I see. Everybody is speaking as if they are speaking the definitive 1000% truth on every topic.
That part, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying, look, here's my theory, here's what I think. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's going to put it out there. That's what these social media platforms are for you to share a little bit of your thoughts here and there. But the problem comes in precisely where you said it does. Us sitting here talking as if we actually know. You know, you may hear something, but who's to say who you heard it from knows what they're talking about either. So again, it's better to just say, hey, this is what's happening. Here are my thoughts. Let's see how this plays out. And if you're right, then cool. And even if you are right, sometimes you're not going to be right all the time. So, you know, have some humility, and, you know, have some humility for the people who are saying this. And, you know, because I would think Marcus thinks the same way. And, you know, I do too. I don't think I know everything. I think there's some of what I think is wrong too, until I'm educated further on a particular topic or a matter. I may have my feelings, but, you know, there are some things you can call, and then there's some things where you have to wait. Also, you, the listener, you know, you need to exercise some level of discernment with this stuff too, and realize that some of these people are doing this because they need the engagement and their income depends on them driving up a certain amount of traffic or getting a certain amount of hits or replies or retweets or, you know, whatever it is on TikTok, shares, what have you. So there is a financial component tied into this for some of these people. Please be mindful of it. I talk about some of them here on this show, people like Dom Luker and of that ilk. You know, they will tell you shit is breaking news. They'll tell you this shit is new. And then you'll read it and like, yo, this shit is mad old. Like, there's nothing new here. You didn't provide any new information. You're not even providing us any new like insight or opinion, or you're not even attacking it from an angle that maybe no one else used before. You're just literally finding shit on the floor, blowing the dust off it, like, oh, guys, here, look, this is new, even though it's some old shit. So just be, you know, just be a little hip to the game and just realize that people like him, that Matt Wallace, and he got another account with another Wallace name. You know, a lot of these people, they trying to hit you with disinformation. And at that point, the conspiracy thought should hit you that, or it should at least tickle your brain enough for you to ask, are these guys agents? Are they on somebody's payroll? Or are they trying to get on somebody's payroll by doing this? Right? Yep. Maybe they're not on the payroll, but they know the things that they need to do to get on the payroll, a la a Candace Owens, how she did, you know, with her Fox News appearances. She pimped that into a TPUSA gig. She pimped that into the Daily Wire gig. So just keep in mind, people will say things because they know they can get a bag off saying certain things. As Marcus and I have evidenced on this program many a times, he and I, if we wanted to dead this channel, pop up as some other people reimagined as two black conservative dudes who really hate the Democratic Party and who aren't too friendly with the black community, instead of having 40 viewers right now, we'd probably have 400 or 4,000.
Yeah. And shout out to Willie Bragg. What's up, Willie? Hopefully all's well.
Thomas, what's up, man?
Well, and like Chris brought up the Don Luke craze and the Wallaces, those who are it's obvious they're about the bag. But there's also the ones where like I'm not gonna say his name, but there's people which I agree with on some things, and this is somebody theologically that I agree with. Sorry, excuse me, but they got sucked into supposedly UFOs flying through the sky and all this stuff like that, and oh, that's the Messiah up there flying around. These are heavenly angels, and there's such thing as deep fakes. There are people putting out videos to intentionally suck you in to believe in BS, and they're motivated by the clicks. I mean, so also just because an account has a large number of views or followers does not mean that the information is more solid.
Or it's not authentic. You know, it's not even in good faith. It's not even to like, hey, I just want to bring, you know, awareness to this. No, it's to get you to think a certain way. Because then you go down and watch who follows these people in the comments. They say, I mean, it's the same group of dumbasses who believe anything that goes against the political groups that they dislike. You understand? So it's very easy. It's like the carrot and the stick. They just put the carrot dipped in shit and just tell them that, you know, hey, the Democrats use this to do something to a kid. And boom, you can have these people, you know, stand on the bridge that was collapsed right before the boat hits. You can get them all to stand there and be like, you'll just stand here. It's going to be all right, knowing that the boat is going to hit it. You know what I mean? Like that's those people. It's like today, I passed the airport today. You know, there was so many Trump flags and Trump people out there, you know, because I pass the airport every day. So I see whenever this dude is here or not, right? I see his plane all the time. And people still be lined up there with their flags and their little convoy for this dude.
And you mentioning Trump, perfect example. I saw an interview with a lady the other day, said she only trusts what Trump has to say. And they asked, where do you get like your news and your information from? And she said she gets it all from Telegram. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting information from Telegram, but it should not be your number one and only place to go, because the thing you have to understand is most of the time when you're on Telegram, that means you're basically in a couple of people's DMs. And so what's happening is you're just having the information that these people within this DM decided to share. Even if, let's say, 99% of what they share is accurate, how much stuff are you missing out on information wise because they're not sharing everything that's going on? They might only be talking about one topic. It
I
might
mean,
be
Marcus,
the whole Ukraine,
even
the Ukraine Hunter Biden stuff. It could be that might be the only thing they're talking about, and they can be 1000% accurate. But how many other stories out there that are being missed if you only focused on such a small lens and window? So yeah, just don't be
and
sucked
Marcus,
in like
look,
that.
you know what? A lot of channels now, given what happened back in October, a lot of channels now are covering Israel. They're going back into Israel. Thomas, I agree with that comment. I did read it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of channels are just now getting into Israel and the connections between the Zionists and, and how far the tentacles spread, throughout, whether it's politics, whether it's entertainment, whether it's academia. Their tentacles are far and wide. And I watched this knowing as somebody who has been aware of this for, a few decades now. And it seems as if some of these people who are supposed to be so well informed, they just now like, oh, wait, this really, and you and I, at least on this channel for the last 3 years, I mean, I think we started talking about
Yeah,
Zionists and
because
their
because
and their attack.
I only even started paying attention to this stuff maybe about 4.5, 5 years when some of this stuff, this information started trickling to me. But the moment I noticed it, I was like one of the loudest people out there banging the drums to the information that I was seeing, and
Mhm.
continuously talked about it over and over and over. And I've made it a focal point to
Marcus,
talk about this.
that was in
Mhm.
part why for all these people leading, when the Bernie Sanders campaign was underway, and everyone is referencing socialist theory, communist theory, and all this shit like that. And you had all these, internet basement dwellers like Chris Richards saying like, oh, theory, 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 theory. It was just like, do you know where this is coming from? All of these things that you're talking about are brought forth to you by one particular group. Do you understand the goals of that group? Do you understand how they want you to react, how they want you to behave, the target audience of this stuff, the consumers of this information and material? They never for a second stopped to think about who was pushing that forth. They just read the words on the page and decided, oh, okay, I guess, I'm going to be a communist. I'm going to be a socialist. It sounds good because, I read a few lines from this guy, Karl Marx, who I just think is so fucking great. Like, shut the fuck up. Karl Marx can go fuck himself, right? As far as I'm concerned.
And I'll
He's
say,
not anybody.
in my defense, in some of that, I actually went to college and minored in political science. And so when I hear some of these people talk about these concepts, it's hilarious to me because you can tell this is just reading one man's book over here, one person's book over there, and not understanding the whole histories of all of these things put together and the gravity of what different things mean. And I could tell a lot of these people who some of these people are big channel don't know what any of this stuff actually is, and
I mean,
don't know the origins, don't know the
just think how
origins of it either.
short-sighted. Think about how short-sighted you have to be to think that Karl Marx is the be-all and end-all of anything.
Well, I look at it like this. Uh the man was speaking for no, don't get me wrong. Uh there can be good things in all kind of different philosophies and theory. And I'm not saying that theory is all, we're not saying theory is all bad. What we're saying is that many people hinge so many things on that, and a lot of that comes from other things that they've invested all their time and energy in have failed. And when it comes down to it, even if you don't believe in a higher power, or everybody puts their belief and faith into something, and basically they turn it into their religion. Everybody has some form of a religion. Mine might be actual faith in the Messiah and the Heavenly Father and the Creator, and how the world should work in a perfect harmony, and all these different things like that. Other people might look at that from a secular point of view and try to figure out what political remedies they can get to that same utopian type place. Some other people might look at it as far as how do we balance out their positive and negative energies and things like that. We're all looking and putting ourselves into some kind of faith. Even people that are atheists have a faith doctrinal belief. Some of them will put it into science, and science becomes their religion. But we all have something
Yeah,
like
that was
that, and
like
a
all the
lot of
people. And Marcus, to back up to
Mhm.
support your point that you just made, science becomes a religion. Just look what we went through with the
With
Rona bullshit.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
How everybody all of a sudden would take the word of Pfizer as gold, and you looking at Pfizer's history, they got what, the biggest judgment against them in the United States for what, lying about their products, and this was
Mhm.
prior to COVID. And when people like you and I are on these platforms saying, "Yo, you should be easy, be wary of these companies and these executives who get on TV to tell you how great they are. Be very mindful of this because their track record is shit." And of course, you know, it's like, oh, these guys are just some conspiracy theorists, etc., etc. It's funny when people should have been listening to people like us, they was telling us to shut the fuck up. And look, they went ahead and put that shit in their body multiple times over. And some people are having side effects and they don't know why. That's why, you fool. People were telling you not to do it, and you chose to listen to all of the wrong sources. Every single source who benefited from you getting sick, staying sick, being sick is the one who told you to do this. You should think about that next time this bullshit rolls around, whether it's bird flu, swine flu, nigger flu, whatever it is.
Well, and I would say also, for instance, a lot of people with this whole Israel Palestine stuff, it took for October 7th and it to be all over the media for people to actually all start getting engaged in it. And this is something that I have been beating the drum on, telling everybody to pay attention to. I remember like in L in particular, we had multiple basically debates going back and forth. Chris is a witness about how I kept saying that this is going to lead to World War III. I said, and I would always have these streams where I'm talking about China, I'm talking about Russia, I was talking about Israel, and I was saying that these are the access points that are going to manifest this world war. And some of the people, like when they were doing the Rage Against the War Machine, and some people were, I don't want to organize with these people because they're like this, and I don't want to organize with those people. And I'm like, it doesn't, it's your differences are not going to matter when shit hits the fan. The little minor things. Now I believe, through my faith and belief, I believe that these things are on a trajectory that they're going to go on, and no matter how much protesting that you wish, it's not going to stop it. But I've been trying to at least alert people to what's coming, so you can at least do something to protect and prepare yourself, even if it's not spiritually. Protect your physical body. Know when shit hits the fan, where to go, where to not be, where how to store food, how to prepare yourself for survival, these different things like that, because all of this is going to to bear itself out. Now, even if it don't play out the way that I believe it's going to play out, the one thing you do got to pay attention to is if we do go to a war type footing, it's not going to be like World War I and World War II, where most of this stuff affects over there. We're going to be feeling repercussions and reverberations of that here. It is going to affect us here. And I don't think enough people take it serious, the level of how it's going to impact you here in the States. I'm not even saying that it's necessarily a bomb is necessarily going to drop on America, but I'm saying that, but I'm saying even if a bomb doesn't drop, you still got to deal with a war in that area, especially in the Middle East and Russia at the same time. That's going to affect oil prices. That's one thing that's going to cause towards inflation and things being more expensive. When things get more expensive and more poverty, then you have more crime rates. It's a trickle effect on how all of these affect each other, and you will be impacted by it. That's why I try to talk about it so people will wake the fuck up. Sorry.
No, you good. I'm about to ask you a question. Did you see that report that they ordered? I mean, not ordered. Did you see that report that came out earlier? Earlier this week. I can't remember which organization put it out, but it said that consumer prices are up 3.5% over last year. Did you see that come out earlier this week?
Oh yeah. I saw. I'm trying to remember who it was. Breaking Points, which they, even though I'm still pissed at them because they got that strike still sitting on my page from like 3 years ago on my other page, and it's still a warning messing up my algorithm. They did a good video going into that and showing like how what is it, rent is up, how, what is it, like insurance, it was showing like all of these different categories on all these things that are more expensive, while people like Clyburn, who's a surrogate for Biden, are basically talking about how, oh, well, everything's perfectly fine, or like that jackass that Kim Iverson had on the other day that was trying to basically gaslight everybody into, oh, well, things aren't actually worse off. We're actually all doing better. You just don't understand that you're doing better because now houses are bigger and you have nicer cars, and you're just, no, bitch, that's not what's fucking going on. You're speaking to people who are at this level who are buying bigger houses. What about the people who ain't buying no house, who still living in apartments? We ain't doing better.
That's the other thing. Housing is housing is out of control right now. I don't, as we've mentioned over the past several weeks, I don't care where you live right now. Housing is crazy, especially when compared to the salary in the city or the town or the state that you live in. I hear people in Florida saying to me often that, oh, it's getting too expensive out here. I'm thinking about moving. Da, 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 da. My number one question is, great, so where are you going? Oh, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, et cetera, et cetera. They have houses for this. The rent there is that. Okay. Do you know where you're going to work when you get to these places? And what is the salary in those places? Because if it's all relative, then you're going to be struggling in North or South Carolina and or Texas the same way you are in Florida. So, before you get to, making a move because you think it's going to be cheaper somewhere, you just got to remember that the pay ain't going to always equal either. You're not going to be getting paid the money that you're making in a bigger city, paying a little bit less rent or mortgage in a smaller city. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't think people really are gauging that. It is across the board that
everything is going up across the board. Yeah.
Especially for housing, it's really
well, and it said that, and Ruby says that she saw that too. Said, I saw that Kim Iverson show. I knew he was full of it. And this goes into like a larger channels again. And this is one thing which frustrates me with Kim Iverson. How people get to the level like that Kim Iverson is on, but don't know how to push back on people who are full of shit. Like she's on some points, on some things, she's like on point. She is 10 out of 10. She is 100%. And then on the rest of the areas, she's no different than some anchor person you would see on the nightly news. They're gonna ask some very basic ass questions and not know how to really push back on the idiocy of stuff that people like that guy was saying. For instance, yeah, wages might be better when you compare for inflation, but housing prices have went up massively compared to what old boy was talking about. And if he says, oh well, people are just buying bigger houses, no, you can't buy those. How many of these older houses that you have out there that you can buy for cheap? You don't, because what happens is a lot of these older, smaller
And
houses.
if the property falls within the confines of an HOA, good luck with that. You might even say, wow, I can afford the cost of the house, but then whenever you add in the HOA payment, that pretty much puts you out of the running,
Yeah, but
and that's a whole different beast in itself, right?
Well, but I'm saying, even if you wanted to buy that so-called smaller, older house, if you find them out there, they tend to be either in one category. Either they're in a historic, they've made it into a historic neighborhood, which that just jumped the price up of being in that area, and you're paying way more for that small house than what it was way back when. Or that small house is in a very rundown area with high crime. So, and also the availability of these cheaper small houses are not there, especially when you factor in living in a place like California or New York or any of these cities which are higher. Willie is saying North Carolina is expensive as fuck. When you're in some of these areas, and it might not even be just the state, it's certain state, it might just be that city or that metro where you happen to be in. But if you leave that, then are you guaranteed that you're going to find another job that's equivalent to be able to pay the bills that you have? I mean, if you go back, because he kept going and counting like the 30s and 40s. Well, people now, they didn't have health care for this because they would have just died of it before. I'm like, do you hear the fucking arguments that you're making, Kim? You can't push back better on this. And I can tell, I remember probably about a month or two ago, she was saying, well, suggest people for me to have on. And she's starting to have on some of these people, which people have been suggesting to her on Twitter. And what I've seen is, first she brings on this dumbass like Milton Friedman Foundation conservative jackass who's gaslighting us for the rich. And then she brings on a dude who's like softly trying to cover his white nationalism and how to get people who she brought on one of those people, and I don't even think she was calculating what he was trying to say about how we should just try to be more like European type, or more adopt the cultures of British, and we should try to get people who are kind of more similar to white people or white adjacent type people to kind of adopt more of white culture. And I was like, what the fuck what am I listening to here? You brought on a dude who's basically trying to like cover his like white nationalism and disguise it. Huh?
We need to do a show on HOAs, like the beginning of it, what they stand for, what they seek to do. Because I see in the comments, Wesley made a very good comment. HOAs are instruments of gentrification. If you look at the origin of them, where they started, how they started, what their stated goals were, if you read, I know this stuff gets very
about
boring.
upkeep and segregation.
Well, if you read their covenants, their documents that they filed whenever they first formed these things, I mean, it's very explicit to say that we will not be, offering units to black people, right? No black people, no colored folks.
What up, Gregory?
So that was something that that we should cover and we should look at, because all the shit that Marx talks about and all this shit like that, all of that shit sounds good until you live in a mixed place like America where there is a racial hierarchy. So you could talk to me all the fuck you want about your theory and how good it sounds and how the worker this and that. How the fuck is supposed to work when other workers are looking at people like Marcus and myself and they don't think that we are good enough to even live in the same neighborhood? So then you go and you create these structures like homeowners associations to ensure that Marcus and myself can never purchase in those places. And then the banks work against us to make sure that they don't give us loans anywhere north of Main Street on this particular place. How does the theory or anything like that help us, right? How does that help whenever we live in a society like this? So all these people who focus on theory, they are very ignorant to reality.
Yeah.
It's just like the libertarians. It's the same problem I have with them. They think that everything is hunky-dory if you just remove certain regulations and, everything is going to be straight. Again, there's a racial hierarchy here in the United States, whether you want to believe it or not, but there is. It doesn't just extend from the government to the rest of us. It happens. It's on a micro level.
Well, the one thing that I would say with dealing with the right in general, they think that if you just get rid of the government, then everything will be perfectly fine. I look at it like this. How would boxing go if you got rid of weight limits, for instance? It would basically crumble on itself because you can't have heavyweights fighting featherweights. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
The same thing, which it's because see, when they think of this, no government stuff, which here's the crazy part. They didn't live back in the time before there was a government. So they don't even know what it's like for comparison. They've put in their head that somehow it was better when the government was really small and we could just do whatever they want. Well, so let's keep in mind
going back to monarchies.
Well, no, they don't even want monarchies. They want it back to the early colonist type days where it was like mom and pop stores, but without acknowledging the fact of when you had these very wealthy land developers or whatever who would come in, they would come in and basically dominate the whole town and run it however they wanted to, and run it kind of like a monarch any damn way. And steamroll people. Well, they don't realize when you had the railroad barons, it was the same kind of thing. You eliminate any kind of government regulations or whatever, you are giving the country away to the Fortune 500 companies completely. Then they can poison your water all they want. They could pay the sheriff to run you out of town if they wanted to and steal your land. There will be you would have nothing that you could do. Anybody who has the biggest dollar could just run you over and do it whatever the hell they wanted to, because it would lead to absolute anarchy. But they're not bright enough to realize the people who are pushing that and putting that idea in your head are those very corporations who would benefit from that. I mean, it's like that's my problem with the right. Most of them are so fucking idiotic that they don't understand what they're asking for their own demolishment and thinking they're owning somebody else. I mean, it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Meteor Dream said Kim Iverson says Asians are white adjacent. Well, the reason why she says that is because Kim is half white, and I really feel like she leans heavily to that white side.
You think so?
And that's definitely.
I don't know enough to make a comment on her. I've seen her a couple of times, but I don't know. But you know, again, a lot of these people in a lot of these spaces, they just strike me as people who are trying to either get on CNN, MSNBC, or you
Well,
know,
she
some
she already
other.
did. She already did her time trying to make it up that route. I think that her content is genuine, what she really believes. But
Oh, okay.
um, growing up back and forth between like California and Idaho, I think her idea on racial dynamics is massively skewed in a very horrible
Well,
way.
look what you just
For
said. You
one,
just said those two. You just named two places where, of course, it's you know. Mhm.
it's just like I had to explain. I have to explain to people, even in California, the reality you live in California is California. The rest of the country doesn't necessarily operate the same way.
Correct.
And it's hard for people out here to realize every place is not like California. Every place is not exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. The same for New Yorkers.
Let's say Thomas said Kim also had some Eurocentric types on, and then she had black reparationist Marcel Dixon on. So I don't know
Oh
where she's
God,
going with her channel.
Marcel Dixon. He's on a. He seemed like a grifter to me, dog.
I don't think he's a grifter. I think he's honestly, I think he's about what he's about, but I think he has a very
Wait,
tunnel
did
vision
he run
focus.
as a Democrat? Did he run as a Democrat?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But regardless, if either you run, even if you don't run as a Democrat, I mean, if you run as a Democrat, you're going to be controlled. If you don't run as a Democrat, yeah, it's more than likely that you're not getting on most of the ballots and stuff. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Either way, you're kind of screwed. So I don't. That's why I don't even hold. Like a lot of people say, well, you just need to run independent, especially if you're running on a national level for anything. Unless you're sitting on stacks, and I'm talking about millions, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going
yeah.
anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You need to be a millionaire or billionaire, self-funded campaign. That's the only way
Hmm.
you even have a chance. And after what Ross Perot did, upsetting the apple cart, they made sure ain't nobody else going to be able to get in there so easily. I remember
Hmm.
T Boone Pickens was talking about that he was going to try to run some years back, and
Yeah, he was
once he
trying it.
looked at once he looked at how many different laws and areas that you're gonna have to try to go through, he realized the hustle and how complicated it's going to work, because not only are you dealing with 50 states, you're dealing with all these different counties within the different states. And so,
Hmm.
like for instance, in New York, you're not just dealing with New York law. You got to deal with what's going on in Buffalo. You got to deal with what's going on in Brooklyn. You got to deal with what's going on in Queens. You got different stuff in
Facts.
all five of the different boroughs that you got to deal with as
Facts.
far as getting your name on the registrations and stuff like that. And so one will say, well, on your paperwork, you can't put what was the thing they were doing uncommitted. You can't put uncommitted on the vote here. Well, but over
Oh
here,
yeah.
you can't. What I'm saying is there's so many nuances between all of these different areas, and the city councils a lot of times are the ones who do these different stuff, and the local governments from the national parties get together and make sure every single area is different to ensure that there's no end around of thinking, well, I'm just going to go third party and just get. Jesse Ventura said it best. If you were still had any kind of faith in this political system, the only way you'd have a chance is if they abolished all the parties. And therefore, you'd have to focus
Mhm.
on what each individual person cared about. And you'd have to actually listen to each individual person's policy purviews instead of just going with the D or the R or whatever party. Alma says I voted for Ross Perot. I mean I liked Ross Perot. I wasn't old enough to vote at that point, but I was definitely in the Ross Perot camp. And I think that a lot of things that he was talking about at that time, you're starting to see the effects of not listening to somebody like a Ross Perot right now. Yeah, Chris Hedges. I like Chris Hedges. I just have a hard time watching Chris Hedges for some reason. I don't know. I mean,
No,
he always has sound analysis.
I used to read Chris Hedges a lot and listen to him and shit like that. But again, it was all of these people. They would make all of these great points. They would be very critical. They'd be on point with their criticism. And then at the end of the day, come November, every 4 years, what do they tell you? Well, we got to support the Democrats. In some way, shape, or form, they always end up turning around, telling you to support the Democrats.
Well, not him,
or the
not him so much. But this is why.
No, not him.
Ruby says he can be boring and very. And I almost feel like I have to fast forward it when I listen to him talk. I have to put him in like half speed. I mean, not half speed, but 1.5 or something. Gotta kick it up a notch. It's the same with like listening to Finkelstein. It's the same with listening to Norm Finkelstein. I mean, it's like your delivery is too damn slow. I get it. You back in the day, you were talking to people who weren't good at processing things, so you had to slow it down so they can catch up to what you were talking about.
And Finkelstein just gives you too much.
Get the point. Get that point.
And he gives you way too much because he wants to make sure that he buttons up his arguments so there's no room for you to attack. But at the same time, some things are just understood. If people don't get it, they just don't fucking get it at this point in time. We live in the information era, and Finkelstein just has to go through first, let me tell you, I'm going to be critical because my parents, aunts, uncles, and then from that point on, all right, we're talking about what happened in 2024, dog, and we're waiting for you to get from 1935 all the way up to 2024. Can we speed it up some?
Well, my problem with him, it'll be his analogies will be so long-winded. And it'll be like, the people of Gaza are like living in a prison camp, even though they've committed no crimes. And I refer that back to the abolitionist movement. Yes. And then I'm like, okay, all right, come on, man, just spit it out, bro. We know what you're even about to say, but you're so slow with getting it out. It's
yeah.
People tend to underestimate the complexity of economics in general, not just Marx. I agree, Mikhail.
There's not much complexity. Hold on, Mikhail. There's not much complexity of economics. I'm going to try to take as much money from this pile as I can and try to divvy out the least amount, can get as little as possible. And I'm going to try to get away with it by hook or crook. If I need attorneys, if I need accountants, if I need judges or prosecutors to help me get to that point, that's what I'm going to do. Because you take the money, you add it, you multiply it, you try not to subtract too much, and you damn sure try not to divide that much, right? You pay whatever you pay. But that's pretty much what economics is in the way that we practice it.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Chris
H, what I would say is not that he has to speak to broad audiences. He's just used to speaking to collegiate audiences. And I wouldn't even say collegiate. He's used to speaking to these so-called wannabe smart people. And so he starts speaking in their language instead of just speaking layman. That's more the issue. He forgets that he's talking to a broad audience of people where you can just speak to them directly. And he talks as if he's talking to another professor who's read like 1,500 books on the subject. So he has to relate it in their terms and just instead of speaking plainly. And that's where I see with both of them. They try to speak too professorial And
You know what
it's like,
Marcus? That's why I
I've read
love.
these books. I know what they're talking about. That's the reason why I know. It's like they haven't realized you're not talking to this stuffy audience who only knows about, oppression through the Rwandan genocide. I mean, just speak to normal people, man. Come on.
I just put in the chat. That's why I love transcripts, right? For certain things, I would prefer to read than to watch the video, because as I read, I can make my notes, I can pause it or stop it somewhere, and I can do some other research based on something I'm writing. Reading, but you could also do that with, visual aids as well. But for me, whenever somebody talks in the way that RFK or Hedges or Norm speak, at times it's difficult to stay on point, especially whenever you know a lot of what they're talking about already. So it's like you're sitting in a freshman class as you are a junior, and you're hearing them go through everything for the first time with these students. To you, it's like, oh God, come on, let's just hurry up and get to the point to where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that they do have to speak the way that they do to the audience they do, because that audience would also tell you that, hey, look at my degree, I'm really smart, I'm really well informed, etc., etc. These people don't really know shit about shit. They don't know anything about anything relevant or important. It's just like the on the right. I think everybody has seen the right, as they have are starting to wake up to the fact that Zionists are very, very influential in this country. They're starting to wake up to that fact, right? And I've started to see, like, oh man, they really hate, however they got there doesn't matter at this point, right? The point is they're starting to ask certain questions, and they're using their religion, Christianity, as a way to ask these questions. Cool. That's their tactic, etc. Again, how long did it take you to get here, bro? Y'all are the ones who claim to know everything. You know that Michelle's a man, but y'all didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? That
Well,
one particular group.
they're still not asking the full questions. Still not asking the right questions.
No,
Because
then and they're
part of it is they're listening to people who are still coming onto this information themselves. Um,
yes.
uh, I remember sitting there talking to somebody and about the Russia Ukraine thing before it happened, and I told them what was going to happen. I told them exactly what was going to happen, and they were, I don't really believe that's what's going to happen. They were a larger channel than mine, and the other larger channels didn't listen to me either. There was only one other person, shout out to Nico House, who at the same time was saying the same stuff that I was saying. Then, as it started to happen, then people started seeing it. The whole the China Taiwan stuff between the U.S. I've been focusing on that and watching that for the longest, and kept my eye on that well before some of these other channels have been focused on it. And I still say keep an eye on that. But I and you can ask Chris, if I'm lying, hey, call me out right here on the spot. I have been focused on 3 stories in particular. What is going on with Israel and all the escalations that they're doing with all their enemies? What is going on with Russia, and what is going on with China? Those have been my number one areas that I've been focused on, because I've been looking for, okay, I see the way things are trending. We are heading towards war. And I got to call you out, Chris, on this. You're like, they making too much money. They don't want to fuck up the bag. And I'm like, yeah.
Not yet.
Well, it's like this. It's not gonna jump straight to, it's not gonna just jump all the way to maximum, level. It's kind of like even everything. It's, say when you get a job, it first starts off with you hearing about the job, right? You hear about the job, and then you call, you look up, you do a little research, you go tighten up your resume, you submit the resume, you wait for a while, some time goes by, you hear back from them. Oh yeah, well, we'd like to set up an interview with you. Boom, now an interview is set. Now you're waiting a little bit longer. Now you get in for the first interview. Kind of goes right. Oh well, we like you, but we're gonna we're gonna look over some things. We're gonna talk about it, and then we'll give you a call back. Then you wait a little bit longer. Then you get in there for a second interview. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, it's looking right, but we just got to check out some things. Sometimes you might even hit a third or a fourth interview. You get that third or fourth interview. Then they're like, you know what? We're ready to go forward with the hiring process. Now let's start negotiating salaries. Then after the salary point, then it's like, well, depending on the job, and like in my job, have to go to get a physical. Then you go get the physical, and then the drug screening, and then we bring you in. But it all started with you had to hear about the job first. It didn't jump straight to, oh well, you want to come in tomorrow and work, and that's kind of the same thing with this situation. It's going to be little events, and it's the same thing with World War II, World War One. It's all these like triggering events. It just keeps escalating and ratcheting up till eventually one seminal incident is going to happen, and that's what's going to kick it all the way off.
So last week I was going off about Iran not doing anything, right? Today they are, right now Iran has today, hours ago, Iran launched drone strikes towards Israel. Where in Israel, I don't know. All they keep showing us is in the sky is what looks like fireworks. It's not very detailed. I don't know what's going on.
What they said is they are targeting military targets. That's all that they've said.
Okay.
So that's what so they're not looking to just bomb like random cities throughout Israel. They are planning to hit particular military targets, more than likely probably airfields, probably IDF areas where they probably have tanks and military weaponry, maybe places where barracks, things like that. That's where they say they're aiming for, maybe radio towers, things like that. Divisions, like probably where like 8200 is, maybe like Mossad buildings, stuff like that. That would be more than likely when they say military targets. Those would be the targets they were looking for. That would probably exclude Knesset, homes of people, and like the presidential residency and prime minister.
So let me ask this: there are a bunch of countries involved already. So when does it officially become World War III? When people actually make formal declarations of war, or
no?
what?
Because the
Royal Air Force from Britain is helping to shoot down missiles or the attacks coming from Iran. Jordan has opened up airspace to allow Israel to defend itself. The United States is very much involved, sending not only money but weapons. So at what point isn't this already World War III?
No, because it can still be ratcheted back down. It could still be ratcheted back down at this point. They could easily say, you know what, this is going too far. We're going to pull our funding, Israel, and you need to kind of you going ahead and you go hit back at some little bullshit thing so that, hey, you got to respond. And then it goes back to kind of simmering off. And then if also this Gaza situation, this is all tentative on how the Gaza situation, if they go into Rafah and they obliterate things, then that could trigger, people feeling like there needs to be some kind of a pushback or response. But I feel like it's honestly hinging on the level of the attack, not just an attack in general. It has to be something of severity.
I also
before
want to
you.
say I also want to say that, all the rest of these countries who are talking, saying anything, Saudi Arabia, France, the US, and all that, it just goes to show where their value system is, right? They're all concerned about what Iran's um, response is going to be. They're already making sure and taking measures to help them defend themselves. We are watching them crush and kill and ethnically cleanse a group of people who don't even have an army to defend them, and they can't do anything. They're not even trying to put the least amount of pressure on Israel through any serious means. What they say in a press conference is one thing, but then you say these things in a press conference and then you okay weapon sales. So the things that you say are irrelevant, except for whenever it comes to your expressions of supporting the Zionist regime.
Well,
Things
yeah,
continue down with
and
it.
therein lies the problem. Um, these other countries are still supporting Israel hardcore, and so the fact that they're still supporting Israel hardcore, and Israel is still acting reckless.
Iran should just
Um,
push the button and just Iran and the rest of them should just press the button and send the big boys in. Stop playing with them. Just blow them the fuck off the map at this point,
but
because
well, the
that's what
thing
they're
about
going to do to you. They're going to do that to you anyway. There's
well,
no once
but
this genie is out the bottle, there's no putting it back. As they say, you can't put the toothpaste back
back in the
into the
tube. Yeah.
tube, right? It's kind of like, so you're sending drones that they're able to shoot down. Your goal is to basically stress the Iron Dome system, right? To get it uh, uh, to be used to the point of exhaustion, for lack of a better term, right? Okay, so what are you going to do then after? Because the response that you're going to get, look, they hit your guy in Syria. Who's to say they don't actually start attacking people in Tehran or in other parts of Iraq? Are we going to say Russia's
Well,
going to stop them? Are we really sure that Russia's going to stop them from attacking Iran? And let's face it, Iran, you shouldn't even need to be relying on Russia like that. You've known you've been the enemy there. You should have been building up your shit on the low
yeah.
for
But
all of these years.
see, but I got to disagree with you there though. This is where I got to push back. If they're sanctioned off from most of the world, how can you build up like that? And you got to remember, this is not a one-on-one fight. This is not going to be Iran is just fighting Israel. This is Iran. The moment that they do that, because of the NATO restrictions, they're literally at war with like 20 people all at once. Most people are not like, you know what? I want to. I'm so tired of you fucking with me that I'm willing to basically lose it all at this point. Most people, because look at it like this: how many people get like, for instance, like it's kind of a morbid analogy, but when somebody puts a gun to somebody and they take them away to somewhere and they kill them at a secondary location, the reason why is because that person still has care for their life, that they might be able to get out of this situation. They haven't just got to the, well, fuck it, I'm going to die anyway mentality yet. And I think that they still believe that things can be salvaged to not get to that point. Also, if you are not certain the people have your back, I can't I can't imagine a leader that's gonna be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go fuck it. Whatever, they're gonna attack me anyway, and I'm just gonna get, a third of my country obliterated and probably many members of my family killed. And fuck it, let's just do it. I don't care anymore. I don't see
So
anybody
what's
who's
going
on that.
so
I
as
don't
a
see anybody
result,
who's thinking like that though.
okay, so I hear what you say. So then now my question to you is, so what happens to them now regardless? Do they chill now?
Oh well, we'll see. We will see. I think that it's going.
I'm not
Uh,
talking about Iran. I'm talking about Israel, the United States,
and
Britain. I'm
that's
saying,
what.
do they chill now? Do they like, oh no, just leave them alone? Just
Well,
leave
and
Iraq
it all
alone?
depends. It all depends on Israel, because if Israel just launches back and they just hit some random thing, and then they do every now and then, let's do these little. Oh, well, I'm gonna do something that's gonna make you want to attack, but not the whole enchilada. It could just go on with, okay, this is something that they're gonna constantly have to deal with. Here's a little strike, and then okay, we do a little retaliatory strike. But if you ever get to the point where you're like, you know what, I can't take this anymore, then it's the same. It's the same situation as somebody who's a slave, for instance. At what point does that slave say, you know what, I can't take this anymore. I'm ready to just fight for my life and possibly die and lose it all, and my kids and my family, and risk their lives also. I mean, that's not something that you. That's not something most people can flippantly make that choice. That's the reason why a lot of people will be born a slave and then die a slave. Some people, you're in this what you feel like is an unwinnable situation, and so you manage the best you can. You try to, smart off a little bit, but you know how much the odds are stacked against you.
So then the Palestinians should just make way out of Israel. They should stop fighting. They should just go. Iran.
I'm not saying what people should do. I'm saying that the calculations that people make. I mean, now it appears that the Palestinians, and here's the thing, it's not even all the Palestinians. It is I feel like Hamas has decided, no, we're gonna take the approach which you say, Chris, they're going on that. Well, fuck it, we're not gonna take this shit. And if you destroy all of our shit and kill a whole bunch of our people, we would prefer that than to continue to have you keep fucking with us.
I'm just saying either way they're going to take losses. So at what point do you really?
But do you want to take small losses and have to swallow your pride, or do you want to take big losses and at least feel like at least I saved my pride?
I mean, I guess it's the difference between having like a skin eating like organism all over you, or do you want to get shot in the head, right? Because
or some people will say, I'm gonna die to this organ. I'm gonna slowly just live it out through cancer and just try to fight back the best I can. And some people say, you know what, once the shit got bad enough, I'm just gonna silver bullet it. I mean, it all depends on the person. Which calculation do you come down with in the end? Do you live as long as you can while you have cancer, or do you say, you know what, I'm not going to keep dealing with this and end it sooner?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I mean, again, you live amongst. I mean, you live with somebody. You live with them pointing a gun at you every day, and they telling you, "Yeah, move, nigga, move, son. Let me see. Just do something funny." Again, there's you gonna die as a slave, or you gonna die as a freedom fighter.
But
right?
here's the thing:
it all depends on what you want to do, right?
But if all of our ancestors had that mentality, will we be alive?
Maybe some of us.
Maybe none of us.
I don't think none, because I think whenever your back is against the wall, that is when you feel like you truly have nothing to lose. That makes you very, very, very dangerous. And the people who have things to lose, they're the ones who are calculating on, oh shit, how to do this, that, oh shit. And again, going back to, the good book, I bet you the Egyptians, they didn't think they was going to fall neither. The Romans didn't think they was going to fall neither. The Greeks, they didn't think they was going to fall either. And they all have, right? So at some point.
But that's also divine. That's also a divine force being involved in that situation.
But the people just didn't sit there and just wait, right? They didn't just say,
no. Actually, no. They in Egypt, they did just sit there and wait.
Yeah, in Egypt they did. But I'm just saying, over time, though, you just realize that that's maybe not the best thing. Maybe not everybody has all that time to just sit and wait. I'm just saying there's many ways to do this, but you're going to keep taking losses. You're going to keep being slapped in the face and being disrespected. I mean, they don't even fuck around and honor your holy days. During Ramadan, they bombing you and taking you out your spirit and filling you with negativity as a result. At some point, you got to do something, bro. At some point, you got to do something. We can calculate this and that, but at some point, we've got to do something.
Even if that something results in the slaughter of you and all your people.
It's heading that way anyway. So,
well, but
that,
well,
I mean,
for
we're just
the
prolonging.
but for the Palestinians, the other Arab nations are not in that situation. It's not that dire for the rest of them. But if they decide to take that form of action, they can very easily be in those kind of circumstances.
So then what is the suggestion? To just sit and wait until the higher power decides that, okay, I think that you people have suffered enough. Now I'm going to move my hand to make sure I'm going to make these people pay. I mean, what do we do before he gets there? Or what do we do before he gets there? We just sit here just
but
like
okay,
quiet
so
little, like good little school children.
so
We
if we're
just take
going
it on the chin every day. What?
so if we're going off of belief, if we're going off of my beliefs or whatever, regardless of what you do, it's already been ordained. You're going to do what the Father already said do. So it's not you're waiting on him. He's already decided that you're going to do what you're going to do. And so he knows the end of how that's going to go. He knows if you're going to go out, or he knows if you're going to be obliterated. He's ordained for when X is going to happen. And because if you think about it, if he says, I know the end before the beginning, then the whole idea of this free will, that there's something that you can do to change the course of things, is mute.
Well, again, like I always say, you're either going to take that shit or you're going to fight back and deal with the consequences. And the consequences might very well be you and your family dying. But again, at the end of the day, they're doing that to you anyway. So you're just going to sit. That's my point. It always leads us back to the same thing. So what are we just going to do? Just sit here and wait until, it's our time to be erased? We're not going to do anything because, again, that's what I'm saying. At some point, you got to do something.
No,
We
Janice,
can't just sit
I
around.
do
And I know
not believe in
there's a
free will.
risk, and there's a risk, but that's hey, that's what it is. That's what you're risking. And you got to make a move at some point. Otherwise, they're going to roll over you just the same. Just the fucking same. You know what I mean?
I wear a seatbelt because the damn bell gets on my nerves if I don't click it. I go to the doctor when things are bothering me. Yes, I change my diet because I don't want to carry the weight. But my understanding of how free will works and how the process with the Father's predeterminations, from our vantage points, we're waking up every day, we're doing what we decide that we feel is best. But in my understandings of my faith, man's steps are already guided. So I'm on this trajectory, and I don't know where I'm going to end up. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I could do all these wonderful things and plan for a vacation and then get hit by a car. I have no clue. But the Father, in my understanding, does know what's going to happen. He knows if I wasn't going to make it to that vacation. He knows if I was going to get fired at the end of that day. That doesn't mean that I just don't do anything, or just everything is going to be great for me. I don't know, because It's like this. When most people go in for an evaluation at their job, most of the time you don't know if you're in good standing, bad standing. You don't know how your employer feels about how you've been doing or not. You go in there and then you will find out at that point how the outcome goes. So I can't operate as if I know anything in any direction. But I do believe that the creator definitely knows, and it's not like he's sitting there watching a movie and surprised at what's going to happen to me tomorrow.
Another thing to look out for is even like for Syria in the Golan Heights. I know Hezbollah is launching attacks over there. That should be something that they could actually put their force might behind, at least, get them out of your country. They won't even do that. So I'm just saying, you gotta do something, bro. You gotta do something. I mean, the same could be said for us here too, but it's true. Something has to be done. We've covered slave revolts and things like that, and people have died and families have died, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure it's a lot better knowing you chose how you were going out as opposed to just waiting for how this higher power, whether it be a slave master or whomever, decides to, decides to call your number. I mean,
well, but saying. I feel like, and that's what I'm going into. We go through our emotions and whatever, and we do what we're going to do. Here's the thing. Slavery. Did slavery end because one of the slave revolts stopped it? No, it didn't. None of the stuff that we were doing fighting against it stopped slavery any sooner. The only thing that stops what actually stopped slavery was inventions. There were inventions that were created that they no longer needed the physical workforce. And it was actually cheaper to use this machinery and more efficient than using us. The same way with some of these corporations and technology.
But don't you think that?
Well, I know, Wesley. I'm talking about chattel slavery in America.
Yeah,
the way
but Marcus, don't you think if more of them just decided to be just savage instead of peaceful, don't you think they could have at least carved themselves out a little bit more space earlier? Or maybe they could have, done something else? Because the vast majority of them, for a while, they made their choice. Damn, we back.
I believe it happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen. That's what I believe. I believe that there was, like for instance, like if we go biblical for a while, it says that there were going to be certain punishments and they were going to go for a certain amount of time, and certain things are going to happen a certain way. They're going to go that way until it's done with. It's nothing that we're doing individually to make anything speed up or slow down or whatever. That's not my beliefs. No, I believe that we operate on this mortal plane and we do certain things because it was the will for those certain things to happen in that manner.
Yeah, but if we have the will, then we should exercise it sometime instead of just sitting back.
But that's what I said. I don't believe we have the will. I believe that
that's one. Correct. So if you say that people don't have the will to act on that, then that's a different thing. Yeah, I can agree. I can see where a lot of people are. However, but when we say like, well, everything is predetermined and we have really no choice in anything, then what's the point of living? And quite honestly, like to even be critical of the higher power or the belief system, what is the point? If we're just robots, we're just drones that they're flying into walls until our time is up, right? So what is the point? That we may as well just stop talking about shit, just really focus on the shit we love and like, and then just pay no attention to anything else since everything is predetermined and,
but just because it's
put us where we belong.
just because it's predetermined don't mean that we know the outcome of anything. It doesn't mean like we have the script and we know, okay, get up tomorrow, this and that. It's just like even on a movie set, or not movie, but like a television show. People don't know the episode when their character's getting killed off. But you go into work every day and get up and operate, as if everything's a new day. But that director definitely know when your character's getting killed off. That's what I'm saying. So what we do or how we operate within the way we see things is that. But the creator is seeing something completely different. So for us, I mean, there's no you should just do this or you shouldn't do that because you don't know what your fate is. None of us are going to know. Now, if I knew, all right, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm gonna win the lottery at the end of this week. So I might as well just don't even worry about calling in and get fired from work because I'm gonna win the lottery. If that would be a different story. But you don't know. You don't know that.
Yeah, we don't. So right now, look, I'm just glancing over at the TV. I see more fire. I'm gonna call them
Well, I was gonna
fireworks
say,
because I can't really.
put that live on. Just turn the sound off. That way, it'll just play.
Yeah. So I don't know like what part of Israel this is or what, but they're shooting a lot. Trez, what's up, man? They're shooting a lot of drones off and things like
Well,
that.
you got to
And I
remember
was
some of that is seeing is not all the drones. Some of that is the Iron Dome shooting back. So how much of that
yeah,
is?
correct. That's what I'm saying. So Israel is bragging, saying like 99% of what has come over has been picked up through the combination of the Iron Dome and Britain and Jordan, etc.
Which I don't believe that. I just believe that since the stuff that's probably been hit has not been anything of like people or like of major what they would consider major significance that or well I don't even I think that they probably have hit stuff that's of significance, but stuff that they can explain away as that wasn't a big deal. Then if that is the case, then any attack that Israel does back that's over the top will lead to, I feel like, even more condemnation, and it will lead in more favor for Iran for people who might want to come to their aid if Israel decides to attack much stronger. Therefore, bringing Russia and China more to the defense of Iran.
Yo, hold on, let me find this shit. Because I'm looking at one thing here. I'm trying to go on the internet to find something recent.
Because Israel can't justify a massive attack on Iran if this attack is
But let's
not a
ask, but
massive
let's
attack.
okay. But let's ask ourselves in the audience this, right? If Israel was to go haywire and just start hitting a button, not necessarily nuclear weapons, right? But they just let off a shit ton of attacks in Iran, Tehran, in Syria. Who is to stop them?
What, to stop them from attacking Syria and all that? They're already attacking Syria.
No, but I mean, if they were to really launch like an all-out attack all throughout Syria, not just in the Golan Heights, trying to defend the area that they occupy. I'm talking about full on, like, we flying over their shit, hitting buttons, dropping bombs, sending drones, all this shit like that. What would be the outcome for them? What would happen to them, to Israel?
Nothing would happen to Israel. Because here's the thing. These Arab countries don't work in any kind of unison. Syria is worried mostly about Syria. Yemen is worried. Now, Yemen does care about what happens to Syria and what happens to Palestinians, but Saudi Arabia don't give a damn about nobody else in the Middle East. UAE don't give a damn about nobody else what happens. Iraq don't give a damn about nobody else. They're all kind of working as individuals. They don't really. So if Syria gets obliterated by Israel, which is very well possible, that it'll be a bunch of hand wringing from the NATO allies, like, oh, that was wrong, Israel, you shouldn't have done that. But that's about as far as it's gonna go.
So then
You
I
might have
guess
the
we're
Houthis
looking.
that'll launch off a bunch of shit, but that's it.
So I guess we are looking at. I guess what we're looking at is them filling out the borders for the Greater Israel Project, right? So that I guess that will come to. I guess that is going to come to fruition, right?
No,
Because
that's not. No,
they're going to
that's
use any attack against them as a reason for them and for their allies to attack the countries they don't like, right? I mean, I'm just saying I don't see where this is going. I don't see how this ends without Israel acquiring more land, more borders. I mean, larger
in
borders,
in
and
in the
shit like
short
that.
term. In the short term, if like prophecy, what I understand and what I believe, Israel is slowly walking themselves on a suicide mission. They just don't see it yet. They're eventually walking themselves into a situation that's going to get them obliterated. But
So the
but
Palestinians are
the
the proverbial the Palestinians are the sheep who will get slaughtered, who are to spawn a worldwide
no,
rebuke.
no,
Oh, okay.
no, that's not, because they're not going. They're going to do the hand wringing, like, we didn't know it was as bad as they were, and they might make Israel kind of a pariah, like no actual doing anything, but we can't be seen in public with you anymore, kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's about as much as the Western allies will do. They're still behind scenes going to still be working with Israel, even if they
Oh,
condemn them out in the open. But
correct.
what's going to end up happening is, because Israel, because they don't learn that lesson, they're only going to keep advancing their attacks, and they're only going to keep getting more and more aggressive, and they're going to get to the point where they're going to push all the Palestinians out. That's going to happen. I have no doubt in my mind. Now, like we said before, influencers can be wrong. I can be wrong on this, but how I perceive it, they're going to push the Palestinians out. They're going to ethnically cleanse that land. If they don't massively kill a whole bunch more, they're still going to push them out of that land. They're going to push them out into they're pushing them out into the desert, or they're going to push them into that little border kind of thing, which Egypt is built up. That's where they're going to do. Push them over there and keep them caged into this new, much smaller cage. That's more than likely what I see, because Egypt is not letting 2 million Palestinians into their land and just float around. That's not going to happen. But what's going to happen is Israel is eventually going to keep pushing. Um, let's see, permanent UN of Iran to UN. You're conducted on the strength of Article 51, the UN Charter pertaining to the legitimate defense. Iran's military action was in response to Zionist regime aggression against our diplomatic presence in Damascus. The matter can be deemed concluded. However, should the Israeli regime make another mistake, Iran's response will be considerably more severe. It is a conflict between Iran and the rogue Israeli regime, from which the U.S. must stay away. And the U.S. is not going to stay away. And what that's going to lead to is that's going to lead to Iran fire. Remember, like those barracks they did after Soleimani, and they're going to hit out and a couple of injuries. Well, Janice, I'm not saying, you're saying they will not leave their land. It's not like somebody saying, yeah, well, do you guys want to leave? They're going to force these people out. That's what I'm telling you. It's not going to be like somebody's giving them a choice. When you're being forced out, physically forced out, that's kind of out of your hands on, if you stay or not. That's what I see coming, especially with it when they go into Rafa. They are going to push them out. Period. It's not going to be them having a choice of getting to stay or not. They're going to push them out. They're going to obliterate the rest of that area. And then once they say, "Oh, we're moving the troops out, but we need to keep just keep a peacekeeping force," what's going on, just like what's going on in the West Bank right now, how they're finding excuses to go and kill people and round them up. They're going to do that there also. And since there is no actual pushback, no serious pushback against it, I don't, how is that stopped? Now, are you going to keep having IDF members getting blown to hell by the rest of the Hamas militants who are still there? Yes. But when it comes down to it, they're going to push them out. Yeah, but you can talk to hundreds of Gazans. That's fine and dandy. Somebody can say that. But if somebody blows you to hell up and somebody gets tanks and starts firing at you, you're going to start leaving. I don't see millions of people just staying there while bullets are firing at them unless they're going to just get killed. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, I can easily say nobody's going to take shit from me. Nobody's going to steal my whatever. I don't necessarily always have control over that situation if somebody's going to do that. My ancestors, I'm pretty sure they said, ain't nobody going to take me away from Africa. Nobody's taking me away from my home, but they did. They got taken away in the numbers of millions, and they didn't have a choice. And that's what I'm saying. They're not going. It's not like they're going to go in there and play Parcheesi with them and ask them if they want to go.
The way I look at it is they too, just like, the ancestors, everyone has a choice, right? This part is true. You should calculate your choice and, what the outcomes are and, what the good and bad parts about it, what you can survive, how you will survive after your choice and things of that nature. I get it. But you're going to have to make a choice, though, because you're getting erased anyway. All them people there, like when I saw that video of that little boy, that 5-year-old boy, he was maybe 6, I don't know his proper age or anything. But when I saw him say, "Yo, they took out my whole family and I'm the only one left. I wish I would have died with my family." Woo. Personally, I don't think there is a choice left because look, they was trying to hide and stay peaceful, all this shit like that. And look, you ended up leaving behind your young one. I think if you're going to go, you better send one of them out with a black eye, B. That's it. Try to scrape somebody's face.
And I'm not saying that some of them won't. I'm not. I believe that probably right now, they're creating more Hamas members because you're obliterating their whole families,
and that's why they have to kill everybody, because they know that they're built that if they leave the people there, that they will just be allowing a hostile force to take root right next to you, and they're like, nah, we can't have that anymore, so now we have to get rid of all of them. And for those who don't remember, Iran is responding tonight because Israel bombed the Iranian consulate in Syria. So this is today is Iran's response to that bombing, to that attack. So again, this is it's a sensitive topic. People feel very strongly about it. Everyone has their opinions or anything like that. I mean, everyone has their opinions, but there's people's lives who hang in the balance, and something got to be done. If people are going to help, then they need to help ASAP.
Shout out to I just was able to hop back over to Rock Fan because my screen was frozen for a while. But what's up, Ramon and Anna? They hopped in, and I'm just saying, since nobody is going to stop Israel from doing this, then I don't see how how the Palestinians stay. I don't see it. And they're even going into the West Bank, which didn't do anything, and now they're doing the same thing there. And they just keep escalating and escalating and escalating. And they're
So,
going to
Marcus,
keep on
even
going
now,
until they eventually get them all out. Now, I think that what's going to end up happening is, yeah, since they're fighting the Palestinians, who are not as strong of a force as they are, they can afford to bully them. They could afford to even bully Hezbollah to an extent. But Hezbollah has more fighting power and more punchback than Hamas does. But they cannot do that to but they can't do that to Iran or Iraq. Israel will get smashed if they went head to head with Iraq or Iran. And it's going to get to the point where if they go into Gaza, like to Rafah, and they do either ethnically cleanse all the Palestinians or genocide the Palestinians, then Turkey is not going to be able to be as hands off as they are. They are going to have to get into the fray against Israel. They're not going to have a choice. They're people. If not, you're going to see, like the Arab Spring happen in Egypt, you're going to see that happen in Turkey. So, I mean, it's increasing the strength. Israel. How is Israel losing? I don't understand that. Yeah, Israel's not losing. They might be when it comes to ground war, they're not. But when you have air superiority, you don't need the ground war is not as important when you can just literally just bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb forever. And they got an endless amount of weapons that are going to be coming to them. At a certain point, you're not going to have any food coming in, and you're not going to have any weaponry. How can you keep going? That it just becomes a war of attrition at a certain amount of time. Eventually, you will run out of everything.
That's a fact. I mean, again, I don't say what I say lightly. I understand that there is a major amount of sacrifice, but that's the word that I always fall back on, sacrifice, even for us here, right? For people who really want to make a change here, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because everybody could tell you how they want things and, how they would go about doing it. But everyone is pretty much kind of silent, and they kind of take a step back into the bushes, like Homer Simpson in the meme, whenever you do mention that word sacrifice. Like even here in the United States, what are we willing to sacrifice to get this place the way that we want? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you ready to sacrifice anything? Right?
Nobody
These
is.
are questions that, and that's what I'm saying. These are questions that we would have to ask, because that's what it requires. You're not going to get all the things we want by sitting in front of a computer and talking about it, etc. At some point, we have to get outside and actually do something and apply pressure somewhere. And are you willing to do? How far are you willing to take it, bruh?
Yeah, that's what I'm
just
saying.
In general,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Literally, Israel's going to have the ability to just turn Gaza into basically a wasteland. How is that winning? How is that winning? In what way is that winning when everything you had is gone? All you're doing is firing back, and you're killing a couple of them here and there. How is that a win? I mean, you're gonna have to live basically underground. I mean, it's like the Terminator. Remember the Resistance fighters who they pop up and they fire on a couple of T-100s, and that's not winning. That's surviving. surviving is not the same thing as winning. You don't think the fate awaits? Oh, I definitely think fate awaits Israel. I think Israel's going to bite off more than they chew, and they're going to get something launched on them that they're not ready for. And I think that gets launched on them that they're not ready for is going to lead to basically that whole area from Israel, Syria, Yemen, all of that getting obliterated. That's what I think's happening. I mean, because and here's the thing: if anybody keeps, let's say, all of the other Arab countries all start attacking Israel, you still got to keep in mind the Samson option, which I definitely can see Israelis doing. Well, for those who don't know what the Samson option is basically nuking everything. Everybody gets it. They're like, if we're gonna die, everybody gonna die with us. It's kind of like the Predator. When the Predator was about to die and he set off that bomb at the end that blew him up and most of the jungle. That's the same thing that's going to happen in this situation. They're not just going to allow for themselves to be taken out and then, oh, somebody else is now going to be in charge of the area. It's going to be turned into a wasteland. And that's what I see more than likely happening. Israel, that's why I say Israel is on a suicide march because they're eventually going to engage all of those Arab allies. Well, not allies. I mean, they're going to get all those Arab nations involved in a direct battle, and they will lose that. Now, those Arab nations are going to get wiped off the map too from, the Western powers. And then eventually you got Russia and China fighting all of that. That's why I say it's going to head to a massive World War III.
We'll see. I personally don't think we're headed towards that. I think everybody's going to relax.
We'll see. We'll see. Exactly. Narcissists never suicide alone. That's what I'm saying. They're not just going to. They would rather see everything obliterated than to lose. It's the same way with the U.S. The U.S. can't stand the idea of Russia and China passing them economically. So they're going to want to fight them. It's the same mentality that you have with the same mentality which you have in Israel. We could just be happy here on our own and let them do their own thing. But we know we've done a lot of screwed up shit to them. So we can't let them completely have their own country because we're so worried that they're going to come back and attack us. Kind of like what America does to Native Americans and Black people.
Correct.
But we got to keep them down so that they don't ever come back and attack us for all the fucked up shit we've done to them.
Here's the thing. We as people, we have choices to make here in the countries like Britain and the countries like the United States and Canada and things like that, right? We still support all of this bullshit because we still participate in their bullshit elections, right? Because you have people who are outside screaming, Biden is trash, Biden is garbage, Trump, 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 Trump. Whether Biden on this particular issue, this is what I always say, right? On these major issues, it doesn't matter what flag you fly here in the United States, whether you're Democrat or Republican. In this case, Biden or Trump. Nothing would be different if Trump was a president, except maybe Israel would be a little more flagrant. That's about the only difference we would see. The United States' posture, response, support would all remain the same.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. The powers that be in Israel, and if you look at the population of Israel, Israel has become more and more the population or the people with the thinking of the settler colonialists. It's not like Israel was 15, 20, 30 years ago, where it was kind of that more secular mentality. Even if it's more secular, or just as secular as it was, it's a lot more of them who have that hard right mentality. And even the so-called left that was there is down to like hardly nothing. So they all believe hardcore. I mean, that the Zionist mentality has never been stronger in Israel. That's the reason why when I hear some people talk about, well, Israel should just try to do a one-state solution and just grant everybody citizenship, I'm like, that is never going to happen. Never going to happen.
Yeah, because they possess the same mindset of the American in the 18th, 17th, 19th century, in the 21st century. Right?
Yeah.
They just feel like this is my shit. I'll do whatever I want. I'll take what I want. You will deal with whatever it is I say you have to deal with, and that's that. And smile about it. Be nice to me about it. Call me Mister while we at it.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of it, say the people who do have their secular, the people who aren't secular, who have their religious belief, and the Muslims, they're not going to. You're not going to have like they just drop their religious beliefs and all that. I get that we have a lot of people who come at it from a secular lens. When you come at it from a secular lens, a lot of times you ignore people's commitment to their belief system, and it doesn't just become about democracy or something like that, or nationalism.
You know what? To that comment, I had to that comment. Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong one.
You said, oh yeah. Well, I mean, I can't remember exactly who said. I just know that I've heard people say it should just be a one-state solution and everybody basically just get along. They're not going to get along. That's not going to happen. It's just not. It's just better for them to just have two separate areas. You go and y'all go live over there, and you go live over here. We own our shit and do it how we want to. Y'all own y'all shit, do it how y'all want to.
To Kaladin's comment, the U.S. will drop Israel when they realize the allyship isn't profitable anymore. Remember, though, Kaladin, it's not that. The only way that can happen is if you rid the government of the Zionists. If you look at it, the United States government has put out in the last, 6 hours, they have put out statement after statement after statement to outlet after outlet after outlet saying all the same thing. Our defense of Israel is ironclad. Again, we can choose to ignore the facts if we want to, but when you look at the entire cabinet of the United States executive branch right now, they're all related to this country, one way or another. If they don't have dual citizenship with Israel, they are very much financially tied to them. Every person there is either a Zionist or the person is married to a Zionist, starting with the vice president on down. The president said you don't need to be Jewish to be a Zionist. He's a Zionist. His vice president married to one. And you just look at the whole list of cabinet members. They're all in support of this country, of this foreign country. So the only way you're going to be able to like really separate the United States from them is if you have to really get rid of everybody in the United States government.
Well, Chris, then I got to say this also because I've heard other people make this same. That's the U.S. Will drop Israel when they realize Israel powers the U.S. It's not the other way around. This is what people don't get. The U.S., our politics is controlled by Israel. Our national policy is controlled by Israel. Hell, a lot of our banking system, a lot of our entertainment, a lot of our sports teams, a lot of that stuff is controlled by Israel. This country is controlled off of Israeli money, not Israeli necessarily the country, but start looking at who owns most of these companies. Now, I know y'all can call it anti-whatever. Whatever, let's just rip the band-aid off and go there. 60% of most of the pro teams are owned by a group that only represents about 1.5 to 2% of the population. When you look at the banking system, the people who are the CEOs and owners and stuff of most of these banks, I would say probably at least a good 40 to 50% of these banks come from that same 1.5 to 2% of the population. Also, that 1.5 to 2% of the population not only has a stranglehold on our sports teams, on the music industry, on the television, movies, entertainment, politics. If you go through companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, who the hell do you think they're owned by? Who keeps politicians in power? The corporations. So if the corporations are owned by this group of people, they own the politicians. Therefore, they own our foreign policy. It's y'all thinking like this is separate, like Israel is this client state of the US. No, you guys don't get it. You guys don't get the level. And it's not just because well, this person, I'm telling you, if you look at it, most of this money that moves through this system and controls this country runs back to a certain country, or people who have ties to a certain country. And I know people will call me anti whatever. I'm somebody who a couple of years ago, I didn't at all, none of this stuff even crossed my mind to think that way. And when people used to say that stuff, I would push back on them until I started doing the damn research. And what happens is they got everybody, they just run around, you're anti, and then it gets everybody so scared to even look into the information. I mean, I shared an article sometime last year. What was it? A guy was named Joel Silver or whatever, where he was talking about how we control Hollywood. And then he went through in his own article how many of his people own all the major movie lots. And then how many of them own television stations and how many of them own the corporations who, so it's so controlled by like for instance, you guys know who does these those trips, what do they call them, those right of return trips taking people back and forth to Israel? That's that's the Adelson Sheldon Adelson's widow. She also owns the Dallas Mavericks and a couple of other things and a bunch of other stuff. The thing about it is, do you know who Trump's top donor was? Sheldon and Miriam Adelson.
And that's why I laugh at the Trump supporters.
The people who control these politicians are the fucking Zionists. So you're not getting elected without the damn Zionists. So therefore, thinking that, oh, well, when we get tired, we'll just be done with them. You can't get done with them because they're the ones who control who gets elected and who don't get elected.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, somebody referenced, I don't remember who, but somebody in the chat referenced APOP. Yo, they
right there, Janice, right there.
Oh, this okay. I don't see. Yeah. When AIPAC does it right out in the open. Not only do they do it out in the open, you want to talk about hubris, they brag and say, look, 99% of our people get elected. What you gonna do about it? Deal with it. The cojones on these people, they have small peepees, but they got big huevos, I guess, because the way that they be talking.
In fact, here I'm gonna just pull up something real quick.
Well, Ruby, to the extent that they may not have been the creators of the companies like a Boeing or anything like that, through BlackRock, through Vanguard, they will take 27, 28, 29, 30% of these companies, along with all of the other interests that have purchased percentage of the company. They will just end up owning the largest share of the company, even if it's at 39% or 34%. They will be the majority shareholder at that point, because so many people will have bought in and maybe you can, the next competitor to them or would have maybe 16%, and they still laughing at your 16%, right? So yes, they may not own it in name or outright own it, but they for sure are getting a check from them some ways, somehow. They always manage to do it.
And
you could take it down, Marcus. We're good.
Oh, and oh shit, what the hell did I just do? Also, if you go into the early weapons manufacturer in this country, you used to be the top manufacturer in this country. Why am I blanking on their names right now? Come on, help me with it. They make chemicals now.
Dow Chemical. Oh, Bear.
Dow Chemicals. Dang it, I don't know. I guess I got rid of my other windows.
That's
but
a good company, Marcus. Don't
but if you look,
Dow. They make very helpful. They make very helpful products, Marcus. That's like you being critical of Monsanto. Don't do it. They make good stuff. I'm here to fight you on that.
The people who made Dow, I don't know if people know this, but up until around, yes, there it is, DuPont. That's what I was trying to remember. I could not remember the name for nothing. The DuPont family is the family who made weapons for the United States exclusively from, what is it? Probably like a Civil War up until like, what was it? I want to say Civil War up until about, no, actually before the Civil War, back to the War of 1812. So from about 1812 up to about Vietnam, that one company made all of the weapons for the U.S.
And they money long. They money
very
long.
And then they had partnerships and tie-ins with the railroad barons. So that tied in with the Rockefellers in that way, and tied in with was it eventually with Standard Oil and all these others. So they kind of, these large older families all work together in a sense and all share profits because they buy stocks in each other's companies.
Those are the families that decided, those are the families that say, yo, we got the large pie. We're going to divide this amongst ourselves only. And maybe we'll throw a slice out after we finish eating. If we don't want to slice it too, maybe we'll throw it to the people. Maybe. Ooh. But first, drop it on the floor and cut it down and break it down. Add some shit to it and then sell it to them.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, and in fact, you go back to you go back to an old quote that somebody said. He says, "I care not which puppet sits, who sits on the British throne. I care about who controls the money, and I control the money." Yeah. When you find out who controls the money, you find out who owns these Federal Reserves. Then you find out who controls actual policy. I don't know how many Game of Thrones fans out there.
Thomas.
I don't know how many Game of Thrones fans out there, but remember the Iron Bank? Remember how pivotal the Iron Bank was in the Game of Thrones? If you got funding from the Iron Thrones, then that makes sure to ensure that you had enough wealth to be able to hold on being the king and the protector of the seven realms. If you did not have that and they wanted to fund somebody else, they'll give them the money to hire an army and come and fight against you. The same way people who have the reins of power, it Thomas, goes back to
stop being factual, Thomas. Those facts again, Thomas.
Well, Kaladin says, just power. What good is power if you destroy everything? Well, they destroy stuff that doesn't touch them. It's about control. It's about control is the most important thing to these people. The fallacy I feel like many people make is they try to relate it through the values that they have, not realizing you're dealing with people who see the world massively different than you and value very different things. I only care about controlling my life and making sure I can handle what I can handle. I don't care about trying to control whole nations. But there are people out there who think like that, who
Yeah, there
I
is.
need to worry about what this country's doing, and we need to limit them so they can't do this. And there are people who think like that. And I mean, think about it. Why did the Middle East have to be cut up into all the areas as it was? Why did Africa have to be cut up into the
Because
way
of
it
the
was? And the
resources, it's easier to take them out if you
is
carve them into smaller
it's easier
groups.
exactly, it's easier to divide it up, and okay, you get these profits, I take this part here. It's the same way how the early pope, when they split up Latin America, they said, okay, Spain, you get this whole side, and Portugal, you get this whole side. It goes back to money and power, and the elites, the handful we're talking about, is playing a big giant game of Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds ridiculous to us, but when you already have all the money, when you have everything you could ever need, at that level, power becomes the motivation.
I tell you, when
Control.
you want to play God. When you
It,
have everything,
exactly.
you have taken every vacation, you have purchased every article of clothing, you have purchased every car, you have the house you want, you have the apartment you want, you have the hair you want, once you exhaust all of the material things that are on your list, and you can do that relatively quick. The next best thing for you, the next most, and let me say, entertaining thing for you is to play God, is
Yep.
to use your finances and your influence to get large groups of people to behave and act and move in certain ways. That is where you will get your rocks off on. And we see that
Mm-hmm.
through cases like the Epstein case and a bunch of others, but he just came to mind.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what it is, and I know that might sound short sighted, but we're thinking, and we got, like I try to tell people, if you view everything through a rational lens, you're gonna have problems because the people who control things don't think rational. Well, not the I won't say that. Well, no, I don't think they think rational, but they live within their own worldview and their thinking. And people down on our level, we don't even exist to these people. When you've had so much power and been allowed to do whatever the hell you want to without any actual checks and balances, the only thing that you can't really control for these people is their health, things like that. That's like the only thing they can't control. And so
Mhm.
also, when you get to that level, you feel like you're untouchable. You really feel like you can do whatever. So, do they really care about the life of this planet? Hell no.
Mm-mm.
Because they
No,
believe I have enough money, I can do whatever I want. And I can create something to take care of me if things ever get bad enough.
correct. Well, I have my bunker. I have my machine that's able to cure cancer. I have, all of that other kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They'll make sure they're good. But
Yeah.
Marcus, it looks like I don't see as if it does not appear as if the missiles are still, or the drones are still attacking.
Yeah, they said they were only going to send like 100,
Mm-hmm.
like 2 rounds of 100, and maybe at most. And they also said they were just sending drones. They're not sending like any, like, they have bigger and more dangerous stuff that they could send. Yes, like
Uh-oh.
spoiled rich kids, except they became spoiled rich adults. That's
Uh-oh.
exactly what it is. What? What's the uh-oh?
I don't know if this headline is correct, but I'm gonna read you just the headline, Marcus. Hold on, let's
Uh-huh.
go back to it. Come on, come. Biden said to tell Netanyahu the U.S. will not back Israel on their counterattack on Iran.
Yeah. They're like right now. No. We're not doing nothing. Yeah, because the moment that they do something, that triggers World War III. Now it depends on the severity of what happens. It all depends on the severity. They'll let them fire off a little attack, whatever. But if Iran hits Israel, like really hits them, like let's say a cruise missile comes and lands right in the middle of Tel Aviv, and you have what, 1,000 Israelis die, we will be going to war.
That is a fact.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't really hurt anybody. That's the reason why they're like, nah, we ain't gonna do nothing. But I know that's the reason why they made that attack, and that attack is so Iran can show to their people, hey, look, we did something, but they didn't want to do so much that it was going to trigger, the Western powers to get involved.
Yeah, I know. It was, I hate, a part of me hates that this is happening because it just sucks up so much air in the room. It sucks up so much attention just because we cannot speak freely about this the way that we would if it was any other countries. So for instance, if Nigeria went on to bomb Niger, we could say, yo, them dirty Nigerians, them people in Niger deserve this, that we could really break it down and say what needs to happen and why it needs to happen. But when it just comes to this group, all the kid gloves, everyone who has to be critical of them has to preface it a lot. I'm not anti-Semitic. I've got Jewish friends. I've done this. I've done that. I've done this. I've done. Is it okay for me to speak now? Jesus Christ. I smell pussy. For my house party fans, you guys will get that reference. If you guys are old enough to remember House Party.
Shout out to Copeland Morris over there. I see Copeland's in the building.
Oh, what's up, Copeland?
But I mean, this is and what's going to happen is Israel is like, fuck, they attacked, but they didn't do what we wanted them to do. All right, how can we attack? And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to find out where the line is so we can get them to really do something. It's kind of like how remember what Dennis Rodman used to do, right? Dennis Rodman would do stuff to try to trigger somebody. And like the person he used to like, you being a Knicks fan, you're gonna definitely remember this. Remember what he would do to to Charles Oakley and to Anthony Mason?
Do what?
You remember, like when they're trying to get a rebound, like he would like mess with them in certain way, grab them in awkward ass ways.
Dennis? Oh, yeah, Dennis.
Dennis.
Dennis played a very cerebral game because not only did he outperform you physically, but he would also talk to you and make you question if you even belong on the same court as him.
Well, I saw one time, man, he grabbed he was whispering Anthony Mason's ear and then smacked him on the ass, and then Anthony Mason turned around, took a swing at him. And in Oakley, it was the same, and he would play this so that he can get them to take a swing and get them ejected. That was his goal. He's baiting them. This is what Israel's trying to do to Iran. Iran just didn't fall for it this time. Iran wants them to attack them. They want that so that they can get that attack, and then they can be like, see, America, look what they did. That's the goal. That's the goal. And then America is going to be like, well, I guess we don't have a choice. We're at war now. And this is the whole goal. Israel, this is why they've been doing this ain't new. They've been doing this for years. They are trying their best to get Iran.
And I just want to say to all the people in the sorry, Marcus, to offend you, but the flyover country who are going to send your kids, you should be doing some research on this before you tell your child to sign up for any kind of military branch, whether it's the Navy, whether it is the Air Force, the Marines, or the Army. You are signing these papers to go work on behalf of a foreign country, because so many dual citizens of said country now sit in very influential positions within the United States' government. This is why we continue to watch. This is why we continue to see the United States behavior. Because RFK is running and, we have the war, there's been a lot of coverage about JFK and what he tried to do. He tried to have APOC register as a foreign agent. And there was a couple things he did as it pertained to the mob. And we saw what happened there, right? Go ahead, Marcus.
Well,
You were waiting to say something.
No. I was just listening, but I was just reading the comments and wanted to like respond to that. I mean, this is their Israel is going to and because especially right now, when you had what it was is you didn't have as many people in Israel who were as zealous as they are now, who's at the level. When and people go back to well Reagan told them to stop and George Bush told them to stop and Obama pushed back. No, you guys are not understanding what was really going on there. They were getting to a point where things were about to get messed up, and whether y'all realize it or not, Netanyahu, yes, he does want all of Gaza. Yes, he does. That's his goal. That's the Zionist ultimate goal, and it always has been. But he's never wanted to do it this way. But the people behind him who are far more extreme, they are not patient and going to do it methodically. And, oh, well, we'll do a little bit of screwed up stuff here, and then we'll screw some people over legally here, and then we'll go in and snatch a chunk here, a chunk there. That was Netanyahu's way. They just was like, no, let's just go in it and just go snatch it all. And what would happen is they'd start getting them to a point where, okay, this might break out into some kind of war footing. Well, those older advisors, they also wanted to make money, and more of them were secular. And so they knew you get into a war footing, that's going to mess up our economy also in Israel. And so how do you back yourself off of a ledge? You get the U.S. to say, well, Israel, I think you guys are getting out of hand. And they're like, all right, maybe we are getting out of hand. We'll calm it down. But that's not, it wasn't our presidents calmed it down. It was because they're like, yo, give us an out. And so this will make you guys look good. You guys are, and then also it gets away from the notion of people thinking like we're really running. We're the ones who are really in charge. It makes it look like you guys have some kind of power. But now you don't have those people. You don't have those people who are going to negotiate like that anymore and who are a little bit more slick or smooth with it. You got the Smochers is in. You got the Ben Gavirs in. People like Ben Gavir literally believe that they are doing God's will. And so when you have somebody to that level of a fundamentalist, somebody to that level of, I mean, you got to remember, in Israel, this guy was recognized as an actual terrorist. Not another country. Israel convicted him of terrorism. And now you have him as one of the highest people in the government, who's the guy, he's the guy who's in charge of the IDF. So you put a terrorist in charge of the IDF.
Yes.
This and the thing about a terrorist is most terrorists are not doing it for money. These are people who have a fundamental belief. When you're dealing with somebody on a belief system, they're not going to hear, oh, well, the rest of the world is pissed off at you. Like, I don't give a damn. I'm living by my principles. And that's what you got going on. That's why it's different now than it's been in the past.
they keep flashing how Netanyahu is in constant communication with Biden. And I just have to laugh at myself because he's really not talking to Biden. Biden is incapable mentally of dealing with any of this. So Netanyahu has been talking to the United States government via um, certain advisors who will never know. I mean, we know the advisors, we just won't ever know which of the advisors he spoke to or he's fly with or anything of that nature. But I just want to say, like, Israel, if you're so big and bad, why are you always relying upon
Dude,
why
we
you
know
always
they're
relying
not
upon
talking to
foreign
Biden.
money?
They're not talking
Yeah,
to Biden. They're talking to Jeff Zients. Come on.
exactly. You know, I saw a post earlier that was out of Israel. One of the Zionists were complaining and saying that the Haaretz only exists so that anti-Semites could quote the Haaretz. And I was just like, God damn, that that shit is rough. But you know, Haaretz is one of the only newspapers that comes out of there that actually
We'll criticize.
will tell more of the truth than the lie coming from the other side.
Well, and the thing about it is, Haaretz is not this super like liberal lefty. Oh, well, we really care. No, they're just the friendlier Zionists who, well, we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be so mean while we're still in their land. I mean, we should find a nice way
Mm-hmm.
to steal their land, and maybe we can just convince them to go over here. And that's the only thing
Mm-hmm.
about it. They still have the ultimate same goal. They just feel guilty about it and don't want it done that way. But and that's the thing which cracks me up. Everybody, well, we need elections over there. Get BB out of there. You get BB out of there, the person who's coming is going to be fucking worse, guaranteed.
Oh yeah, for sure.
BB is the stopping valve from keeping it from getting as bad. He's trying to mold down the sharp edges of what the people what they really want to do.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that this time. But
Oh
anyway,
no,
Marcus, look,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I was going to say
One
we're at
last
3
thing.
hours.
Uh-huh.
We're at 3 hours right now. I think I'm about to sign off, or
Here,
shortly
let me
after you
say
finish
this.
this last one.
Yeah, and this will be quick. Uh, I was gonna mention. Okay, I mentioned that. Oh yeah. And I'll just throw this out here.
Yeah.
What was it? Damn, I can't remember that one. So I'll just go to this last story.
Mm-hmm.
News about Ukraine. Ukraine has just made a conscription that they want at least 500,000 more troops. They have expanded the recruitment age from 18 to 60 right now. Um, and it said that they're 18 to 60 is the new conscription age. Now, for those who don't know any better, when you advance the number up to 60, that means you having a hard time getting people and you don't have
And
enough bodies.
keeping people.
Well, what it is they're it's not like they're just getting out voluntarily. They're dying. They're running out of people. And it's getting to a point where they literally might be fighting to the last Ukrainian male.
Mm.
I mean, if they keep at this
Bye.
rate, you're liquidating the population of Ukraine.
What they say, chunking up the deuces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was the last point that I wanted to get out there. And to the Rock fan side, I apologize. I don't know. I did something on my computer and I can't see any of the Rockman comments anymore. Actually, no. Wait a minute. I think I can see a little bit of it.
Oh, but Marcus, before we end, Marcus, we got a few minutes left, and I wanted to go back to my
I want to share Copeland's comment real quick. It's a real good one. Says Israel cannot indefinitely keep an army of reservists in the field, and their economy will buckle at some point. A war of nerves works best for the resistance with persistent pressure, and that's what I'm saying. the Hawks before they understood how war and fighting is bad for profits and businesses, and so they would be like, oh, okay, we've done enough and we need a stop file to get out. But these people who are hardcore in their Zionism, who want that land at all costs, they don't think like that. They're singular focused.
Mm-hmm. But Marcus, I want to end it on a totally different note. You know, going back to hip hop, there's a lot of hip hop beef going on right now. Nobody's in danger of dying. This doesn't seem to be a Tupac, big situation. It's not that grave, but there's a lot of beef going on in rap right now. I'm excited because I haven't heard people actually put forth good diss records in quite a long time. And in fact, matter of fact, you're not even going to hear good diss records with this. You're going to hear a bunch of average records with this, right? Because we don't have it. This is not Jadakiss versus Beanie Siegel. This ain't Nas versus Hove. This ain't Pop versus, The Field. Ukraine Wild and 59-year-old soldiers is crazy. It is crazy. But yeah, so there's a lot of things, that you can focus on that don't involve death, destruction, and some of the saddest shit that you will see. However, just don't forget that death, destruction, and some of the saddest shit you'll see is actually occurring right now. So the only thing that we can do from here, if we're going to participate by the rules, would be to... Never mind. I don't want to say it. But, what did Emmanuel say? K-Dot got everybody rapping right now. Yes, I want to say to him too. You know what's ironic? Everyone was saying that Drake needed to respond to Kendrick. Drake really needed to respond to Future and Kendrick, but it seems as if he's just going all around the world with his responses. But the two people he most needed to respond to was Future first and Kendrick. Because Future was the one who was a little bit disrespectful. Kendrick kept it on music, and part of the reason is all these guys fuck the same girls. They all are chasing the same girl, the same bottle girl, the same stripper, the same OnlyFans girl, it's ridiculous how they all choose and chase the same girl.
This reminds me of the old Tupac song.
Which one?
Every city I go, I see the same. They all chasing the same one.
It's true. A lot of these guys, they try to talk to and they spend money on the same women, and all these women are collecting money from these guys, and they're listening to the guys do the pillow talk. They telling some guys they're withholding information from others. And yeah, it's just really wild right now. And that guy from Canada is really, got the game in the chokehold, to my disappointment. But that's for another show where we could really dig into that. Marcus, we're gonna really jump into this other shit where we discussing more pop culture shit, music shit, movie.
Well, that's the
shit.
thing. You gotta. I didn't even plug my new channel.
I know, right? So
I didn't even plug my new channel. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the video.
Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're about to get out of here. Mark is going to put you on to the new channel that he started. But as far as I go, I'm pretty much tapped out. I've been at the gym all day. I started my day from early, so I'm ready to go shower and crash. And Chris H, that bullshit with Silver Surfer being a woman. And I like Shorty from not Boondock. I like Shorty from Ozarks, but I don't like the fact that they're gonna put a woman Silver Surfer into the movie. But again, I'll nerd out on another time. But look, we had for Marcus and I see that we had a larger audience than usual. I just want to say, check us out, man. We are very diverse people. We are able to go in and out on multiple topics. It's just that, the topic of the day is this situation going on in the Middle East between Israel, the Palestinians, and shit like that. So unfortunately, Zionists and their
Actually,
bullshit.
we had about the same. It just tricked us. The StreamYard is doing something weird with the number. I don't know.
Okay, but anyway, but you know, with that being said, the Zionists and their bullshit are sucking up all the oxygen in the room. Marcus is about to introduce a new channel that he started where we're going to like try to get away from, you know, only
Yeah.
or mostly discussing politics.
Yeah,
Christian
this
Muhammad.
one, this is my new channel. It's called Young Morpheus Reviews, and I put up that one review that I did about the Book of Clarence so far, and so this was my first one, which was new content. Which I got another one I'm working on now. This one is called From the Wire to BMF/Power Universe. And the other one I got in the works is From Oz to the Wire. So that one will probably be dropping. Might have it done maybe sometime tomorrow. So this one's a short. The next one's a short also. I'm gonna do a short little review, non-spoiler of the Monkey Man. And then I plan on probably doing a short live stream with a special guest that I've interviewed in the past. I'll make sure I get that settled before I put the name out there. But hopefully we'll do a live stream, all spoilers and everything, just going in deep on Monkey Man. But here's my little one of my little shorts. I'll show it to y'all real quick. Jesus, you save your soul. You gotta keep the devil down in the hole. He's got the fire and the fury at his command. Well, you don't have to worry if you hold on to Jesus' hand. We'll all be safe from Satan when the thunder rolls. You gotta keep the devil way down in the hole. But yes, that's the my first little one over there. So
good job, Marcus.
Hopefully y'all come and check it out. I got a lot more stuff planned for that channel, especially for the movie lovers in there. I figure I just got to do something that's I'm able to talk about some stuff that's not political, and I'm not, that takes me something that's a little bit enjoyable and is not as controversial to talk about, to have a little bit of enjoyment. So hopefully y'all come over and check it out. It's Young Morpheus Reviews. So and if there's any TV shows or film that y'all would like to see me do, please send it to me. And if I know about the show already, I'll try to do something on. And if I don't, I'll go and check it out. Then try to put that on my list. I think that's about it that I have. I definitely got a bunch of stuff planned. Oh yeah. For those who saw when I tried to do the breakdown on the on the Matrix itself, I'm going to do a Matrix breakdown on there. So make sure y'all come over and check that out. Thank you, Thomas. He says that's some good editing. But yeah, and I'm making sure that I get the characters like full names as much as the names. So if y'all want to go check these people out, and then I'm going to do more. So I'm going to be working on some shorts, and I'll make sure that most of these videos are not going to be very long, just something for y'all to be able to check out. But that said, much appreciation to everybody who came to join us. And I guess that's about it. Got anything to say before we get out of here, Chris?
No, man. I mean, I'm just nerding out with Chris H in the comics. I'm a bit of a nerd on certain things too. X-Men '97 is yo, that shit is alright, man.
The American Society of Magical Negroes. I don't know about that.
Oh, you never saw that movie? The preview for that movie, Marcus? Oh God, yeah. I'm
gonna check that out, Yipper.
Oh, you're gonna check it out and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? That's what you're gonna say. You gonna be like, what is it? Bullshit. Watch.
It's that bad. It's that bad. It's trash. Man. Oh Lord. Then if it's trash, then I'm gonna trash it. So
yeah, it's some bullshit.
You know. I like Last Ronin movie if we're talking about the same.
Yeah. Right, yes, the Last Ronin, but the Last Ronin movie, this is gonna really nerd y'all out. It's an R-rated Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. The Last Ronin. Not to be confused with the Last Ronin that Keanu Reeves was in back in like 99, 2000.
That's 47 Ronin.
Oh, that's what it is. Thank you. No, X-Men '97 is not a remake. It is a continuation of the show that was on in '97. It's not a remake. They've upgraded the artwork, but it is a continuation of the show, and they actually are doing a great job with it. I can't believe it. Yo, they killed off Magneto and Gambit, so I was hurt. Yeah, no, that shit is fire, Marcus.
I'm kind of not surprised they killed off Gambit. It seemed like they never really wanted to put Gambit in any of the X-Men movies anyway. So
it makes sense. If you see how they did it, how they did it, Marcus, it's fire. I promise.
Well, what about Morph? Is Morph in there? Is Morph in there?
Yeah. Oh, Morph. They gave Morph a new, like, he's a full character now. Like in the show, he just doesn't die like in the first episode. And
he died like in like, well, maybe. I think he lasted like 2 episodes, 3 episodes max.
Yeah, and it's totally different. Even the Madeline Pryor Phoenix thing with Cyclops, all that shit is total. They did it well. They did it really, really good. But they even killed Magneto again. But they're gonna come back. They're gonna use time travel to fix it.
So a Cable. Have they already featured Cable yet?
Man, they already had the baby. They had the baby between them, and Bishop had to take Cable to the future. Yo, I'm telling you, this shit is fire. They did a good job with it.
They did okay. This is okay. I'll have to check it out. I mean, put that on my list. Because right now, what I'm watching, binging through hardcore, binging through Sons of Anarchy. So after I finish that, it's gonna be some Sons of Anarchy stuff coming, and of course, I'm gonna be doing some reviews on more of the Power, especially. We're entering into the last season of Power Book 2 Ghost, and I got a feeling that Ghost is about to come back. So look for that stuff on there too.
And also too, that show Shogun, that shit continues to be excellent TV every goddamn week. Oh man, that is
well, that's on my list too. It's a lot on the list. Oh yeah, by the way, who haven't seen, I was gonna tell y'all, make sure, because this one is a movie related, but it also will fit into politics. So make sure y'all go out there and see that Civil War movie, because I imagine we will be covering that on here at some point. So we can go in with spoilers and all. Y'all make sure to go out and see it as soon as y'all can.
All right, guys. So we numbed y'all enough. We out of here, man. Thank y'all for coming through. We appreciate it. Please hit the like button. Share it with your people. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Peace.